bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well, holy crap. How you doing, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. How you doing? Yep, it's going down right now. It is Wednesday, October 19th, 293 days into the new year. Just 73 days left. And it is debate headache night. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Yeah. Watching the debate before the show tonight. I'll talk about that in just a second. Very little about it. We have an action-packed show tonight. Check this out. Everybody can take a deep breath. Take a break. Turn that crap off. Do it now, because we have Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus on with us tonight. We're going to talk about their book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World. Let's talk about this country of ours. Let's do that. Take a break from that crap on TV, because that's what it is. And then, now, listen, I've announced it all week. Thursday night, tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a best of replay. We're going to be on the road. We're going on a vacation. You know, we're going to do an on Golden Pond Armenian style. That's what we're going to do. You'll hear all about it on Monday. I'm sure we'll post some pictures. So, with that, and I know everybody was upset. What about Rapaport? What about Rapaport? Dude, I need my raps, dude. Well, okay, we listened, and tonight, we're going to have John Rapaport here with us. Hey, John Rapaport is going to be here. And we're going to bring on John. So we're going to shift the schedule around. We're going to do things a little bit different tonight. John's going to be on with us in just a few short minutes at 7:15. We're going to run that over to 7:45. And then we'll bring on Laura and Robert. How is that? See, everybody can relax. We loves you, man. We do. All right, so Rapaport's going to be here in a few short minutes. All right, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. You want to do it now at JChurchRadio. And while you're there, if you're over on our website, if you're over there cruising around, goofing off right now, just click, follow, like, and subscribe. All of us, right? YouTube, Facebook, go and do it. We update Facebook every day. We update YouTube every day, along with the podcast and everything else on the website. But everything that you need to know is right there. So why wouldn't you? And the way that we utilize Twitter, right? Hashtag F2B, the sandbox, thousands of tweets every single night in sync, lockstep with this live show. That's where you want to be. And if you've got TweetDeck, then you can get involved in all of those conversations. The mudslinging, the fun, the humor. That is the Fade or Nots. Hashtag F2B. That's what you want to do. All right. Where am I? I am so lost. I taped all day today with History Channel. And immediately after the show last night, rushed home, jumped into bed, and got up early this morning, went and did that. And I've got to do it again all day tomorrow, too, as well. Oh, man. And then head out. But so right now I'm out of my mind. And with that being out of my mind, rushing home, L.A. traffic, in the back of some car, getting car sick because I got a driver that can't drive. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. So, I make it home. And, I've got to get over to the bunker. And I was like, screw it. Let's just do this. So get over here and I start working immediately, right? No food, jacked up on coffee, been doing the thing in front of the camera all day. And the debate starts at 6:00. And I've got to tell you, that is about the most depressing thing that you can witness as an American citizen. It's just horrible. It is. And I'm going to comment on that before I get John in here in 5 minutes. Before I do that, Life Change Tea got me through this day. I literally dosed up on everything this morning. Oh, my goodness. I got over to the bunker and dosed up again. I feel pretty good now, though. Feel pretty good. Just go to Life Change Tea. It's at getthetea.com. Head over there right now. Promo code Jimmy will get you free shipping on your order because you're a fade or not. And this is what I'm doing this month. This is what I recommend to everybody. Get the moringa drops. Get the olive leaf extract drops. Get the vitamin C drops. Get your colostrum. Get your Ali C and start dosing. You'll feel great. And I've got the bottles right here, by the way. As I said that, I was reading them. That's because I really do them every single day. All right? Promo code Jimmy. Free shipping, either online or over the phone. And Studio Dome, their Fade or Not special. Yes, TWS, True Wireless Stereo Technology. It is a wireless Bluetooth stereo system in a hard shell case for $129. Yeah, 2 speakers, power cables, everything, $129. Click on the banner, JCR TWS. That's the promo code. 60% off the normal price of $399. There you go. And because you're a Fade or Not, you get free shipping. Best deal on the net. Go and do it. All right, because you're listening to me on a cell phone, right? Computer, tablet, right? Live. Get rid of that dinky little speaker, man. You want to hear that baritone. You do. Keep your wife awake. Keep your husband awake. Keep your kids awake. As a matter of fact, keep the neighbors awake. This is Fade to Black. Happy birthday to South Park co-creator Trey Parker. Today he's 47. John Lithgow today is 71. Jon Favreau, whose career started off great, and he's just not that cool anymore, is 50. And there you go. Our dead guy's birthday today is Divine. 1945 to 1988, died at the age of 43. One of John Waters' favorites. John Waters is one of my favorites. There, I said it. Starred in Pink Flamingos, Hairspray. Wasn't Ricky Lake in those movies, too? Johnny Depp, right? There you go. Happy birthday, Divine. On this day in history, 1982, John DeLorean is arrested in a $24 million cocaine deal. He was set up, got acquitted. There you go. John DeLorean. Fade or fact. London has more Indian restaurants than Mumbai. And that is a fade or fact. All right, tonight we have very special guests with us, Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus, and we're going to discuss their book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World. And I can't wait for that. And it's going to be one of those free-form discussions tonight. And I think we're going to get our learn on, as opposed to, and John Rapaport's going to be here in 3 minutes, as opposed to what's going on with this debate right now. And what has, to me, what has happened to not only this election cycle, but the way that the country perceives what they are looking for in a candidate. I think our expectations now are so low, it doesn't really matter who's on that debate stage. I mean, we have really, collectively as a country, thrown in the towel. We have. Because this stuff that is going on, and Chris Wallace is doing his best. You know, I will commend Chris. I respect Chris. In that it is nothing but on both sides. Hillary has sunk to Trump's level. Trump has sunk to Hillary's level. They are both buying into the other's narrative here. And now it is nothing but mudslinging. We've got a country to worry about here. A country. Our children, our children's children. We have the rest of the world looking back at us right now, hoping that we are going to help the world get out of this darkness that we're in. And they look to us, no matter what you think or how much you're upset with this country, no matter what you think the rest of the world thinks, and no matter what the rest of the world thinks of us and what they say publicly, the facts are the facts. We lead this dome. We are the ones that are supposed to be smart, help people. Whether it's defense or money or jobs or trade or intelligence and education and guidance and that is the truth. And I watch this stuff go down in the debate, and I'm just embarrassed to call myself an American. I am completely embarrassed. This is not the best that we can do, and this is not what we're about. On either side, this is not what this country is based on. It is spun completely out of control. This is the last debate. The election is it's 20 days away, people. 20 days away. And that, one of those two on that screen is going to be your leader for the next 4 years. How did we get here? How did we get here? It's not even, it's like a bad dream. But this is what we've got. And anybody that is supporting either of these, either, you guys are screwed up. Either. I mean, what do we do? Not vote? And somebody's going to get in. Somebody could get in with 50 votes, one vote in each state, and somebody would get into that office. Unbelievable. So there you go. I've said it. We've got 20 days left. Then we've got 4 years to ride this baby out. Man. If I could, I would. I'd run for president. Man. Burn this sucker down. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. When I come back, that's right. We pulled it out. The one and only John Rapaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletzky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
And now, coming to you from the No More Fake Newsroom in deep space, which is the space that we suspect to be true, that the world, as it is fed to us every single day by the Ministry of Truth, is a lie, a false reality, a movie projected on the screen of our subconscious. This, however, is the breakout. All the screens crash. They all go down, and we see the light of day, a new day. No more robots, no more androids. It's the No More Fake Newsroom with John Rapaport. Take it away, John.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Here on a Wednesday night, and let's call this an entry from the reporter's notebook. I've been at this since 1982. That's 18 plus 16, 34 years. And in 1987, I pretty much stopped writing articles, and I started my first book called AIDS, Inc., Scandal of the Century. And many revelations followed from my research, which still vibrate unto today and sustain me in what I do. So I want to describe for you a sequence of events that occurred during that period of time, just to give you, I don't know, a whiff of the kind of adrenaline racing discovery that can occur in a reporter's notebook. I was beginning to have doubts that HIV was proved as the cause of AIDS. I was beginning to have doubts that AIDS was actually one thing rather than a whole series of different kinds of immune suppression from many different causes. And two of the things that caused me to have this doubt, from a reliable source who made a trip to Uganda, there was a clinic there. And there were several patients who had been diagnosed as HIV positive, and they were under care, and they were very sick. Don't know how long they had been there at the hospital or exactly what treatment they were receiving, But in swept a new team of researchers who decided to redo all the HIV tests. And this particular group of patients in this hospital were retested, and they were told, oops, we made a mistake. You were never HIV positive. And within a couple of weeks, these people had recovered and they were released from the hospital. They had been very sick. In those days, it was assumed they would die, most probably. But as soon as they were told that the initial diagnosis was wrong, they recovered like this, and they were released from the hospital. Well, that gives one, shall we say, pause for thought. The other story was, as I was writing the book, I was contacted by a doctor in the U.S. who had a small clinic in Africa, in Uganda, I believe. And he told me the following story. He said, I took people with AIDS and I took them out of their poverty-stricken, no sanitation, starvation environment, and I put them in this nice, small, clean, quiet, peaceful place, my clinic, and I let them rest. And eventually, we had some of them start to grow food, which they could eat, nutritious food. Of course, in the meantime, we were giving them good food. And they could eat this food they grew and also sell some of it and make a little money. He said, so the upshot of this is all their symptoms, AIDS symptoms, presumably, went away. And he said to me, what do you think I should do now? Well, I said, you're asking me what you should do about people who are now healthy? Is that it? Do you want to give them toxic drugs? What's the problem? And this doctor was genuinely confused. He just didn't know what to do because all of his indoctrination and training added up to the fact that what he had to do was give them drugs. But in preparation for doing that, he wanted to strengthen their immune systems a little bit. And when he did, in the ways that I described, they recovered completely and were symptom-free. They had regained their health. Just like the people who had been told in the hospital, your HIV test was wrong, you don't have it. So these are just a couple of the, let's call it, dozen things that made me seriously doubt that HIV was the cause of what was being called AIDS. And so I began to do a little bit of investigation into another area. I wanted to look at studies that had been done about AIDS in Africa. And I went to the UCLA Biomedical Library in Los Angeles, and I combed through journals, and I found what was called the key study about AIDS in Africa in 1985. Slim disease, it was called, another name for AIDS. And this particular researcher gave the impression that he was discovering for the first time that he found people who were drastically losing weight, fever, fatigue, etc., etc. And this was cited as the first report about AIDS in Africa. And I said to myself, are these people crazy? These are all the symptoms of hunger, protein calorie malnutrition, extreme poverty, starvation. Why do they think this is original research? This has been going on with these symptoms and other symptoms in Africa for, I don't know, hundreds of years in certain places. This really cooked me, so to speak. I now really doubted, against all odds, because of course the official medical establishment had just I mean, they were flooding the news outlets with stories about HIV this and HIV that and so on and so forth. And the entire establishment was fronting a tidal wave of consensus about HIV. And here I was writing my first book, assembling evidence that this was not the case at all, for many reasons, just a few of which I have outlined to you. And so I wanted to talk to a reputable scientist that might listen to me. That's a tall order, if you have any doubt about that. And somebody tipped me off to a molecular biologist, I won't give his name out, who was the editor of a medical journal in New York. Talk to this guy, he said, see what he thinks. And I thought, boy, this would be something if I could really, talk to him, if we could really have a conversation, because usually with these people, there's no conversation at all. Well, you see, it's this way, and that's the way it is. Well, why is it that way? Because it is. We've proved it. Well, where's the evidence? Oh, you can find it in many places in the journals. Will you send me the journal paper that proves that HIV causes AIDS? Oh, of course, I'll send it right to you. This is not only my experience, this was also the experience of Kary Mullis, a Nobel Prize winner who devised what's called the PCR test. He also asked many researchers, send me the journal paper published that shows that HIV causes AIDS. And they all said, oh, sure. When I get back to the office, these were conferences, I'll send them right to you, no problem. And they never, ever, ever did send a single journal paper to him or to me. So I was very much looking forward to this conversation I was going to have with a mainstream molecular biologist of some repute, the editor of a medical journal. And as it happened, 5 minutes before I made the call, the whole thing hit me like a ton of bricks sitting there at my phone as to what was actually happening in Africa. HIV was a cover story that had been invented to cover up what was actually killing people. Starvation, lack of sanitation, sewage running in the streets, vast overcrowding, grinding poverty, toxic medical drugs flown in from the West. Plus, of course, hunger, starvation, protein calorie malnutrition on a profound level. And these problems, contaminated water supplies, these problems that I just mentioned, which have and had existed in Africa for a very long time, could easily be remedied, mind you. This is not an overwhelming problem. As I've mentioned on the show before, you could clean up contaminated water supplies in a matter of months. Many companies around the world could step in and do this, but it was never happening. There were only task force reports from the World Health Organization, and yes, we realized the problems and we're working to solve, but nothing was really happening. And the second bombshell that hit me was there are people there in parts of Africa, leaders, economic, political leaders, who don't want to cure those problems. They don't want them to be solved. They want them to persist because that enables them to rule as a tyrant and to diminish at least the chance of widespread popular revolution, which would then bring about real elections because the people are too debilitated and weak and sick and dying to really rise up in a significant way. en masse. And that these leaders in Africa, of course, were colluding with foreign interests, mega corporations, mining corporations, agricultural corporations, and so on, big-time foundations, Western financiers, to sell off basically their entire country to these foreign interests, who would then employ untold numbers of local people to work at slave wages. They would get sick, they would die, they would be replaced with other people. You know the stories. This is the way it works. This is an aspect, in fact, of globalism. That's the way you do it. But in order to make this work and work well, and to basically sell out and sell off their countries, the people themselves had to be kept in a horrendous state, physically, mentally, in every possible way, which was exactly what was happening because of the starvation, the hunger, the contamination of the water, the lack of sanitation, overcrowding, et cetera, the poverty, and so on. I picked up the phone and I called this guy, molecular biologist, and we began talking. And I said to him, I am just not seeing in the literature any significant proof that HIV causes AIDS. And he said, you're absolutely right. He said, in fact, I'm writing an article about that now, which we will publish in the journal. I said, are you serious? He said, oh yeah, we're going to do it. I said, so you agree? There is no convincing evidence that HIV causes AIDS. He said, absolutely not. No question about it. I said, well, you're in the vast majority. He said, a minority. He said, of course, I know, I understand. The consensus is completely against us, but that doesn't mean they're right. When you don't have the evidence and you make an assertion, you're wrong. That's just the way it is. I said, so I have to tell you that my take on what's going on in Africa is that all of the horrendous conditions of life that exist there are being perpetuated, and they're all being blamed on HIV now. And that becomes the cover story to enable these corrupt men to sell off their countries and to rule as tyrants. And he said, of course. He said, I agree. That's exactly what I believe, he said, is happening there as well. I said, you do? He said, yes. I said, how long do you think you're going to be working at this job of yours? He said, I don't know. Well, it turned out it was about maybe 3 or 4 more years, and they got rid of him because he was too much of a troublemaker, and he was right. A big part of a continent in this world being kept in a state of slavery, basically, for which the cover story becomes a medical assertion about a virus that has never been proven to cause human disease. And I ran that down. I could give you the chapter and verse on that. We don't have time for it tonight. In terms of the science, in other words, how do you prove that a virus causes a disease? What are the requirements? Were those requirements met? And the obvious answer is no. So there I was, writing my first book, 1987, feeling that I had in my hands a gigantic scandal. Isn't even the right word for it. I mean, it's the best word I could come up with at the time, but it was just mind-boggling. And I said to myself, if this is what reporting actually is, I'm in. I'm in all the way. I'm on board. No question about it from here on in, because this is incredible. Absolutely incredible. and I believe I've mentioned this on Fade to Black before, but I'll put it into context now. I spoke with several more scientists, one in particular, very well known at UCLA. And I ran down to him my investigation and said, look, I see no convincing evidence that HIV causes AIDS. That's just the way it is. And he said, you know, there are those of us, I remember the phrase, there are those of us who see this whole thing as basically political. That was his word. And we're passing on it. We don't want to get involved. We're not going to get involved. And that was tantamount to his admission, a very well-known and respected scientist, that indeed HIV had never been proved to cause AIDS. And then I found more doctors and researchers who said the same thing to me off the record. And I was blown away. I mean, blown away. My first book, I had basically stopped all other reporting that I was doing. I became, you could say, obsessed with finishing the book and getting it out there to show from every conceivable angle how in every so-called risk group for AIDS, CDC announced several of these groups, you know, like IV drug users and Haitians and Africans and gay men and the United States, et cetera, et cetera. In each one of these groups, the prevalence of immune system destruction that could cause severe illness and death could very well be explained without any reference to a virus at all. That was the second half of my research, to show that. And then I was hooked. Then I was hooked as a reporter because of how fantastic this was. And I think that out there in the great audience for this show, I will find agreement in this sense. Many of you, or most of you, have fastened on to some kind of story that is so profound and so astonishing that runs completely counter to the mainstream information purveyors in our society, who are very busy telling the opposite story over and over and over again. And you know that whatever your story is, whatever you have fastened onto and read about and research about is the truth, is the truth. And all those prestigious people and their outlets and corporations have it completely wrong. And you also know why they have it wrong, why they insist on having it wrong. Because having it wrong benefits somebody greatly and allows them to pursue a vast criminal enterprise that involves, of course, cover-ups, to line their own pockets, to have more control over the people, to run things, to keep people from waking up to something so astounding that it would liberate them once and for all from allegiance to the official sources of information, which would revolutionize our society, of course, if enough such people came forward. That was my first giant one back in 1987. You've got yours. Persist with yours. Do not let it go. That is my advice. Write about it. Talk about it. Make videos about it. Whatever about it. Become your own source of information. Become a reporter. Learn how to present what you've got, the real evidence, in the most convincing way possible, because if you can do that, you will never, ever be the same again. That's my report for tonight. Thank you all, and thank you, Jimmy.
John, there is so much to be said with your dialogue right now that I almost don't know where to start. But certainly there are going to be those that are going to listen to this in the future. You know, it's going to be out there forever, that it's going to enrage, right? And call you out. But and you know exactly what I'm talking about, but that's your job and you do it well. Okay. So, but that being said, I totally agree with you that you need to go and do your own research. And I have always said, and I'll say this on your behalf right now, don't believe you. Don't believe me. Don't believe anybody, right? Ever. And go and do your own research. If this causes discussion, if this raises eyebrows, if this causes people to look at each other and go, what the hell is he talking about? He's out of his mind. You've won, right?
Exactly.
And I thank you for that. All right, now go watch the rest of the debate. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right, Jimmy. Thanks so much.
All right, John. Thank you. Amazing conversation. Thank you, John Rapaport, the best. And I've got to get out of here quick because we've shifted everything around tonight. So when I come back right here, Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus are going to be here. We're going to discuss the secret life of Lady Liberty, goddess in the New World, and a bunch of other stuff. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, John Rapaport. No more fake newsroom. No more fakenews.com. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
Angioprim can unclog blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is oral chelation. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. Just log on to angioprim.com. That's Angioprim, ANGIOPRIM, angioprim.com. Angioprim users say they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on to angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better, having fun, and doing more again. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221. Or log on for complete information. Angioprim.com. That's Angioprim.com. Find out how Angioprim can work for you. Get the facts about Angioprim at Angioprim.com.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Man, oh man, I think John Rapaport just lit a few fires. Oh, man. Thank you, John. Robert Hieronimus, Ph.D., is an internationally known historian, visual artist, and radio host. His research has been used by the White House, the State Department, and published in the Congressional Record. He has made numerous appearances on documentaries airing on the History, Discovery, BBC, and National Geographic channels. His giant murals and painted art cars include the 2,700 square foot Apocalypse and the 1,750 square foot We the People, the Woodstock bus, and the We the People art car. His weekly program, 21st Century Radio, is the longest-running radio show on the new paradigm in the country. Laura E. Cortner graduated with honors from Goucher College in Townsend, Maryland, with a degree in English, concentration in writing, good thing to do when you're an author. She has co-authored previous titles with Robert Hieronimus, including Founding Fathers, Secret Societies, and the United Symbolism of America. Her work has also appeared regularly in numerous periodicals, including Lilipo, UFO, and Fate magazines. Their website is secretlifeofladyliberty.com. And on Twitter, you can follow them at Lady Liberty Book. And I would like to welcome for the first time Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus. Good evening, you two.
Hey, so glad for this chance to be on Fade to Black. Talk to the Fadernauts about Lady Liberty.
Yeah, I'll say, especially following John Rapaport.
Tough act.
Oof, man.
Can I make a comment on that?
You can in just a second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just a second, because first, you guys get the first-time guest disclaimer. Okay? Now, the next time you're on the show, you don't get it, and maybe you'll want it next time, but you're going to get it tonight. And that disclaimer is, it's just the three of us sitting on my couch, having a conversation as friends. Where it starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Ready to go.
Looking forward to this.
Now, okay, Robert, I'll let you have first crack at John. Listen, every Thursday night we have him on the show. And he's one of the smartest people on the planet, certainly one of the smartest people that I know. And I have to follow that dude every Thursday. All right. And it just lets the world know that with me, it's all smoke and mirrors. And I am indeed a doofus. And he has just brought so much light to our world, and I thoroughly enjoy him, and he does not play around. I'll say this before I let you comment. I never would want to be on his bad side. You don't want to be that guy, right? You want to stay on the good side of John Rapaport. Okay, Robert, what'd you think?
Well, he's absolutely right. He is. And concerning what's going on, there are conspiracies and there are real conspiracies. This is a major conspiracy. I know that my wife, Zahara Meyerhoff Hieronimus, has done stories that AIDS does not cause these It's not called
doesn't cause
HIV.
AIDS.
Does not cause AIDS, and I think it's been now well documented in other areas. Of course, there have been others. Mr. Len Horowitz and others for years have been working on that, and
yeah, she covered that in the early 90s.
Yes, and it's very it concerns her very much, and it's one of those things that there are conspiracies that are important to look into. And that's one of the great things about your program. You look into some serious conspiracies. I mean, there's all kinds of fake conspiracies dealing with, say, for instance, the Statue of Liberty and the Founding Fathers dealing with pyramids and eyes in a triangle.
Sure.
And all of that is lots of lack of good historical information. Because remember what John said about documenting it yourself. And when you document it yourself, and it can be established that this has been going on, especially in Africa, and it's going to be used because we have serious problems of overpopulation. We're going to have serious problems of getting clean water. It may be in the future that we are going to have to pay more for water, clean water that we can drink, especially if fracking continues to go on.
Right.
And that is going to destroy, water is going to be so expensive, more expensive than oil. And I'm sorry to go off on this rant, but every time I hear a person that has the courage to have done the research and come out with it, and I like the way he presents it.
Well, this is my comment with that. Okay, conspiracy. Yes, we've heard this for a long time about the origins and possibly in a test tube, in a laboratory, in a weapon, and we've heard all of these things. And based on fact, is it, well, okay, that's a Pandora's box for all of us, right? And I get that part. But what upsets me the most is the family, the husband, the wife, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the son, the daughter that has a family member or somebody close to them that has struggled with this and or died and is really, really ill, and they have to deal with that, and at the same time hear these kinds of statements made that possibly it could be collusion and governments and something else that is involved with this, and they don't need to hear that. They need, you know what I mean? There's the heartbreak that is going on out there.
Of course there is.
And so it just infuriates me, and I've known people with AIDS, still do. And I in 1982, 83, I was in the hospital for a month, got really sick. Down the hall from me was one of the first AIDS patients. And with literally all over the door, a hazard, biohazard yellow tape and crisscrossing and blocking the door and these huge signs. And I had to go out there. I didn't even know what AIDS was, right? I was like, what the hell is going on in there? And so I've been around this for a long time. And so we've all heard these same stories, and not only about the weaponization or the possibility that this or it was created or population control and whatever those stories are. But it doesn't help the people that have been really tragically affected by it, too, as well. And that's what upsets me the most, that if all of those stories are true and these people that are, dealing with it every single day is because of something like that, I just blow a fuse. I mean, I really do. And I hope it's not true. That's what I really hope it's not true, because if it is, we're screwed. Right. So what do we do? So we have to just go and research and, I'll tell you something before we move on to Lady Liberty. I remember, okay, I'm just going to say this directly. I have spoken with a CIA whistleblower this week, a famous guy, and his books, and he's been on, all the, CNN, whatever, this person. But, and he's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. But, so I was speaking with him, and one of the things we were talking about is that there were rumors here in L.A. back in the 80s that the CIA was bringing crack into Los Angeles, right? There were these rumors. I mean, I had black friends, the black community was telling me this. I'm a white guy, right? And they're trying to blow my mind, and they were. And I was like, nah, right? And then it came out that that's exactly what happened. And you just stop and go, wait a minute. What is going on here with Iran-Contra and selling drugs for arms and flying in and out? And, you know, Danny Sheehan's been on the show many times. He's a dear friend. And all of, you know, when somebody says, well, what about a conspiracy? Could this really be true? Well, you know, how about this? Or how about this? Or how about this? You know, and so before we think that something is too out there, like John said, you know, you have a story that you've confirmed yourself. You have that crazy story, and now you know. Well, that's his. He's got his. So just take it and go and research yourself, and that's all. And if you've got a family member, somebody that's been affected by it, or friends of yours, you know, well, you know, that's what really sucks the most, is that you are going through what you're going through because of something like this, potentially. So, all right, that's it. That's it. I got to get off the subject because I will seriously ramble a bit too much. We're going to, because we've offset the show, we're going to hit a break in about 2 minutes. So I actually want to start here. Let's just start with a question that needs to be asked first. Why, with the two of you have written on so many different subjects, but on this one, why would you guys choose the Statue of Liberty? I can't even get liberty out. I'm just so upset. So upset right now. But yeah, why would you choose that first?
Well, it's a long story, really. I'll just try to give you the short part, and then we can come back after the break, perhaps. But, you know, this may come across in an odd way to some of the conspiracy hunters, since we were just talking about conspiracies. And I know there are a lot of conspiracies about the Statue of Liberty. In fact, that's one of the reasons we wrote this book, was to look at those and dismiss what is non-historical about them, and perhaps summarize about some of the objects that are easily summarized. So we see the Statue of Liberty as an energizing and a unifying symbol. What it was originally designed to be was an energizing, unifying symbol for French people, and it has taken on a whole life of its own in America, and it is changed over the 130 years that it was since it's been in place to mean lots of different things to lots of different people. It means opposite things to a lot of different people. And so we look at all the different, the backgrounds, the different allegorical females.
And especially, I've always been interested in symbols. Symbols, and she is a great, important symbol. Symbols can build bridges between the conscious and unconscious mind. They can cultivate wholeness, and that's what we need. And that results in self-realization. And that is the key of the Statue of Liberty, because it is a symbol of balance. And when you study the symbols on the Statue of Liberty, and those who have looked into the Kabbalah and things of that nature can start to see certain patterns. One quick example was...
Well, hold on. I've got to take a break right here. So let's do that now. Let's get it out of the way. I don't want to be late. So let's do that. When we come back, let's get back to the symbolism. And I'll say this really quick. There's nothing like the first time you go to Manhattan and look out and see the Statue of Liberty. It's electric. I'll be right back. This is Fade to Black.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Work with your doctor when taking medications. Make Protovite part of your healthy lifestyle.
HealthForLiberty.com is your source for Protovite, a powerful nutritional supplement that's a true breakthrough for your health. Poor digestion makes it nearly impossible to absorb the nutrition your body needs. Protovite is a liquid multi-nutrient formula with patent-pending absorption technology and the highest quality ingredients to nourish every cell in your body.
My name is Sandra White. 6 weeks ago, when I started taking Protovite, I was on 14 medications, from everything for blood pressure to fibromyalgia. In the first 10 days, my blood sugar dropped 50 points, and my fibromyalgia pain is gone. And so was 12 of the 14 medications that I was taking. I'm 66, living life and loving it.
Go to healthforliberty.com right now. That's healthforliberty.com.
Thank you, Protovite, for giving my life back.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guests tonight, Robert Hieronimus and Laura Cortner. And we're going to discuss their new book, which is The Secrets of Lady Liberty. And now, Robert, right before the break, you started to bring up symbolism. And certainly the statue means so much, so many different things to anybody that lays eyes on it. You know, it's a lot of it is interpreted. But when we start that discussion of symbolism, where would you start?
Well, I would start with the fact that when you talk about symbols, symbols have at least 7 different levels of interpretation. Most people get hung up on one level or the other. But when you look at the Statue of Liberty, that right hand, the symbolism of the right hand is holding the torch. Now, this is not a torch of fire from the standpoint of burning things down. It is a symbol of enlightenment. And because it is enlightened, it means that this being that's holding this statue in its right hand is an active force. The right hand is a masculine force. And it is enlightening the world. It's not just an American symbol anymore. I don't know if you're aware of it, but there are Statue of Liberties all over the world. Even in China today has a Statue of Liberty.
I've seen it, yes.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
Because people look at that symbol and say, wow, America really did something. They may not be able to interpret it, but it's the divine feminine. It's an aspect that's missing in our culture and has been missing in our culture for like 5,000 years. More than that. Sorry. But the last, with Gimbutas and the research done on 30,000 years ago, it goes that far back, in which we had balance. And I don't mean a female dominating. I mean male, female working together, because all of us are not just male or female. I'm about 51% male and 49% female. And I try to stay in balance. And when I was younger, I couldn't stay in balance because you know what I believed? I was a patriarch. I believed, I know this sounds terrible, but I actually believed that men were just basically much more intelligent than women. I really believed that.
Oh, you were conditioned to believe it.
Yeah, yes, I was. My culture taught me basically that they were. And it was, another strange thing was, it wasn't until all of us have mentors. My mentor was a politician. He was the governor of the state of Maryland and and the mayor of the city of Baltimore. His name was William Donald Schaefer. And William Donald Schaefer was running for office. And he was running against someone in Baltimore that was involved with organized crime, and he was going to lose. And his people came to me and said, Bob, you're an artist. We want you to do the governor and the mayor's poster if it becomes mayor. And I said, sure, but I want to do what I want to do. And they said, you just do anything you damn please. We've seen your murals at Hopkins and other places, and we know that you know what you're talking about. So I said, okay, and I did. And I did. You know what I used? I used the symbol of Aquarius. Aquarius above the monument of Baltimore, the symbol of the system of Baltimore. And I used Isis, and I used all kinds of other Egyptian symbols, because in Egypt you have some really heavy stuff going on.
Sure.
He won that election by a landslide. Because our population in Baltimore was heavily African American. And so after he won that, he said, Bob, I owe you. And I said, okay, I need to learn something from you, sir. How do you become successful? And he said, simple. You surround yourself with intelligent women, especially women that are more intelligent than you are, and they will take care of things. And he was right. And it changed my life totally.
Yeah, it works for me.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. There's a balance that I needed, and I was totally imbalanced. I mean, what a fool I was. But, you know, I had to grow up, but I never would have thought it would have come from a politician that told me that. So the women that I work with all the time, it's true. They're smarter than I am. However, I got good intuition, and that counts for something. So the Statue of Liberty, holding up that torch of enlightenment, is the right hand. The left hand, it's cradling in its hand a book. It's the Statue of Liberty talking about, this is my baby in my left hand. The hand of intuition, the hand of feminine, the hand of healing. Well, both hands heal, but the left hand is basically the feminine aspect. And on it says July 4th, 1776, indicating that is the founding of a republic. Now, there were other republics, which I'm never allowed to talk about on the History Channel. I want to talk about the League of the Iroquois. They won't allow it.
Right.
No matter how many times I've been on it, they just won't allow it. Bob, that's not important. It is important. The Native Americans had a republic in this country in 1142 A.D. 400 years before Columbus. We had a republic here, the Native Americans. That is basically unknown, and it's not talked. So I've only given a part translation of the symbolism, but what I'm getting to is the male and female is in balance. And in the Kabbalah, when you take a look at what goes up your spine, so to speak, the fire that goes up your spine into the crown of the head, that indicates that this being is not only enlightening, but she is all wise. She is a goddess.
That's one of the things our main message is we'd like Americans to remember that the Statue of Liberty is a goddess, because when you recognize the goddess, you recognize that life is sacred. And this is the image that we've chosen for ourselves, to identify ourselves as Americans, even more than the flag or the Liberty Bell or things that were around during the Revolution.
Right.
This is the image that even around the world, people will identify. That's America. And even if you dismiss the fact that she's a goddess, it's a woman. So we wanted to know why this macho country of ours, we're very pro-military and, we're all the greatest, we're the champions kind of thing. Why do we identify ourselves as a woman? And so we looked at that and other powerful symbols of the female divine throughout history, and especially in the New World. It was our publisher who suggested we look at the Statue of Liberty as a goddess in the New World. They're the ones that supplied us with that subtitle. So we tried to find other cultures, and Bob was just talking about the League of the Iroquois in particular, because they influenced the founding generation, the revolutionary generation, in a very big way, in the way that they founded the Republic. Of course, they had a matrilineal culture, and they relied heavily on the Council of the Clan Mothers. It was almost like the branch of the Supreme Court, if you can liken it to that, in the way our system ended up. And our founding fathers either deliberately ignored the power of the women, or they just didn't see it. Either they just couldn't see it because of the blinders that they had on. But it was a crucial part to the success of the Iroquois, and we left it out of the way that we copied a lot from them, but we left that part out.
Do you think that when Bartholdi and the French came up with this idea, of course it was built by Eiffel, but when they came up with the original designs, that they were looking at symbolism and what it could represent here? Or do you think they were looking at it as just art?
Well, interestingly, you have to remember that it originated by Frenchmen for Frenchmen. And what often gets left out in many of these discussions about the Statue of Liberty is the real person behind it wasn't Bartholdi at all. He was a commissioned artist. There's a gentleman who was a legal scholar named Edouard de la Boulaye, who we call the mentor. He's the father of the Statue of Liberty. It was his idea. It was right after the Civil War ended, and he was very pro-American, and they had been pro-Union, his little group of pro-Republican French people. This is in 1865. And France, the Emperor of France, had been pro-South. So they, at the end of the war and at the death of Lincoln, La Boulaye and his friends, he gathered them all together at a dinner party, and Bartholdi was there, and they decided, we want to give a gift to the United States, and specifically to the widow of Lincoln, to show them that not all of France supported the South. And they came up with this idea that let's make it a statue, perhaps a Statue of Liberty. It was La Boulay's idea to make it a statue of a woman, of La Liberté, as they call her in France. Although my French sounds like Spanish most of the time. Sorry about that. Don't have the best French pronunciations. And anyway, where was I headed with that? Oh, they were making it for French people. So they decided they wanted to, France had a roller coaster of a history ride. Ever since their own revolution, they'd had anarchy, followed by monarchy, followed by republic. Pretty much every 20 years they had another.
Yeah, it was unstable. Unstable
right.
is
right. So his little group wanted to model their government after the United States. So they said, let's create this image of the La Liberté. They already had an image in France. They had Marianne, who was a symbol of liberty as well. And we'll use that to show that we are modeling ourselves on the United States.
And of course, he was a feminist. He believed in that women should vote. And this is extremely important and totally overlooked. Now, there's been a lot of books done on the Statue of Liberty that absolutely mislead people by thinking that, well, they omit La Boulaye, they omit his philosophy and what he was trying to do, and they get hung up on other things which have very little to do with this, because the guy who really did the Statue of Liberty was someone that loved America, saw in it the divine feminine, which he supported, and it took a long time for women in France to get to vote, but he supported that way, way back there. And that unfortunately hasn't. The thing I'm so proud about this book is, this is going to sound corny to some people. You take a look at our bibliography, 17 pages of books that are the most important research editions dealing with this particular topic. That's why it took us 6.5 years to do this. We thought this was going to take 2 years.
Right, right.
And it was driving me crazy because I had murals to do. I had to make a living. You don't make a big, great living writing books, do you? I mean, geez, a whiz. So I was very concerned about trying to get this done right. And it meant going after one book after another, rare books. And we also have an extraordinary group of images, some of the best illustrations you won't find anywhere.
And let me say that they are also available on our website, which you mentioned, secretlifeofladyliberty.com. We have an extensive gallery there of not just the ones that are in the book, but ones we couldn't fit in the book.
Yeah, it's really
It's
cool.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got the links up. Everybody should go check that out. And the other thing I've always looked at, we studied, the Statue of Liberty like, all kids do growing up. And I remember one of my teachers telling me this, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but Laboulaye was a law professor. And with the instability that was going on in France at that time, and certainly women's rights were part of it, and he was a big voice in all of that. But France was unstable. So looking at what was going on over here in the United States, they wanted to make the investment, get contributors together and build it, and then unite France.
Yeah.
And women's rights, all with, it was like a three-pronged attack with the Statue of Liberty. It just wasn't a gift to us. It was a gift to France to hopefully get
I think that's what people forget. Because as soon as Americans didn't even want it, there was a lot of arm twisting that had to be gone on. And that's why it took so long. And there was this long fundraising for the pedestal, which the Americans were responsible to raise money for and build. And there are all kinds of political cartoons about making fun of it and how she's going to look like an old lady by the time it's finished. And,
right.
Yeah, so different from what it became. Almost as soon as it was unveiled in 1886, when it was finally finished and all the big hoopla, and it was debuted. It took on a whole new life. It became the American, and we embraced it. And for a little while, we kind of forgot about it for the first 20 years. It fell into disrepair. It's just gone up and down. Just to clarify, Laboulaye was definitely in favor of women's rights, but we can't say that he was designing the Statue of Liberty with that in mind. There was never really any connection there. He did organize an event for women's rights at the same time that he was fundraising for the Statue of Liberty. So they're both on his mind at the same time. But as you're saying, the statue was definitely designed to inspire French people to unite in the same way that the Americans had around the Republic. It's not really at all about the freedom of women. In fact, there's great hypocrisy there. The suffragists in America pointed that out right away. To depict liberty in the form of a woman in a nation where women had no liberty is a giant hypocrisy. That was what they called it. So the suffragists of New York City and state, they organized a great protest during the 1886 unveiling and hired a boat and went out there. They were right at the feet of the Liberty and gave their little speech of this giant hypocrisy. But even they felt when the veil fell from the face and the horns and the ship horns and the whistles and everybody's crowd are yelling. It went on for about half an hour. It was really quite a noisy spectacle. She said that tears just filled their eyes. They saw her as the giant woman liberty, and finally that's going to be the symbol for their freedom in the future. So even they were won over almost immediately by this symbol.
I remember seeing a cartoon when I was a kid that made fun of it, that it could possibly have been a Trojan horse full of French soldiers, and they're going to roll that thing into New York Harbor, and the French were going to do a sneak attack. And,
yes. Interesting. Well,
but
it's hollow. It's hollow.
Right.
I didn't know this when I was younger. Right. I thought it was one big piece of hunk of metal. Yeah. I didn't realize that it was the bronze and copper. It's only the thickness of 2 pennies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty trippy. The first time that I saw it, and I'll just make this brief because I think we all go through the same thing. So I'm not planting a flag here, right? I'm not inventing something. But the first time I was in Manhattan, we're like, come on, we got to go see the statue, and we get out there and pull up and jump out of the car, and I'm looking. And I started to cry. Oh. I had a lump in my the emotions, right? And I'm looking over at my buddies, right, the macho dudes, crying.
They got it too. Oh.
Yeah, and because it stirs up. It means so much. We have lost sight. This is the other thing. We've lost sight in this country to all of those traditions that we all used to do growing up. the Pledge of Allegiance, hand on the heart, raising the flag, the national anthem being pumped into your classroom, and the ceremony that we went through every single day, and every classroom had a Statue of Liberty in it, right? Yeah. And so we grew up with that. Kids today have no clue, right? And all of those traditions are gone. But for me, the first time I saw her, I cried like a little kid,
Did you make it out to the island and climb to the top?
It was, no, it was closed. We went out to the island, but you could only walk around on the bottom. It was closed. You
really got to plan ahead to do that.
Yeah,
when did we do? 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to buy your tickets like 6 to 9 months in advance.
Can you climb limited. Can you climb up her arm? Can you go all
No, they closed off the torch back in 1901 or something, but you can climb up to her head, so you can get inside the head of the Statue of Liberty, which is what we wanted to do. And it is quite a remarkable experience.
Yeah,
I was a little claustrophobic.
Imagine.
I really had to work myself up to mentally climb this. It's like a helix stairway.
Right.
You go up and up and up and up. It's 146 steps, I think, because they have an elevator now that takes you up through the pedestal. So halfway you get to ride in an elevator. And then once you get to the bottom of the statue, you have to climb. And it's narrow and it's circular. But when you're in there, you can see the truss work and all these little bars that are attached to it, the big tower that Eiffel built that you mentioned. It's almost like a miniature Eiffel Tower in there. It's crooked, of course, but it's a steel pylon, and the staircase wraps around that, and then off of that shoot all these flexible bars that are attached to the molded copper sheets. So the whole thing is flexible as well as being hollow. These are wonderful metaphors for filling her up with whatever opinion or idea that you want to, which is why she, as the female archetypal symbol, of course, that's another reason why, but it's why she can be interpreted by so many different people into so many different things. But anyway, climbing up to the top, it's pretty confining and thrilling at the same time. But when you get up there and then you can see the world through her eyes, it just totally changes your perspective, or at least it did for me.
Yeah, I think there was scaffolding on it when the first time I was there. They were doing something.
Was that in the 1980s?
Yeah, it was in the 80s.
Yeah, when they renovated, they did a whole renovation, and they took the torch down and they replaced it with a whole new torch. Now it has gold leaf paint. And finally, you can see it. They really knocked the hell out of that torch when they were trying to get some light out of it. It was supposed to be a lighthouse. That was
the other thing. And I wanted to ask you guys, I wanted to make this comment. Can you imagine the immigrants that were coming in, 1900, 1910, 1920, rolling into New York, packed on some crazy ship, right? And they see that. And what she means to them today, because that would have been the first thing that they saw when they're rolling in and getting ready to start a new life. Go talk some smack to one of those families about Lady Liberty. You're gonna get an attitude check, because it means so much to them, and I can only imagine the emotions that are stirred there. Now, this is what I wanted to ask you. It was about 3 months ago, and somebody had sent me an article that I didn't get a chance to vet it, but the article itself was interesting, saying that the original design was a Muslim woman. Is there any truth to that story?
There's a thread, yes. That particular claim has been quite popular around the internet in the past year.
Right.
Another author has spun that, and it comes down to the fact that Bartholdi, Auguste Bartholdi, the artist, had proposed a statue for Egypt for the Suez Canal some 10 years before they actually started working on Lady Liberty, and he just pitched it as a commission. He wanted to be hired and make some money to build this statue for it was a French-Egypt kind of co-project, the Suez Canal.
Right.
So when the leader of Egypt came over to be feted in France, Laboulaye actually invited him to an abolitionist conference, and that's where Bartholdi got to meet him for the first time. And he said, here's this idea. We'll build this giant statue of a woman who was an Egyptian woman. It's a peasant woman. So there's your Muslim woman.
Right.
It never got off the ground, but he did design some tiny little statues, or maquettes they're called. And it's similar because she's holding up a lantern. So it's a giant woman holding up a source of light, but it's called Egypt or progress, bringing
progress to Egypt.
Bringing progress to Asia, right. So it was when Bartholdi was challenged on this by the reporters of the time, and they noticed that he'd offered a similar statue. He said, no, that was not a Statue of Liberty. These are two different statues entirely. First of all, the Egyptian one was never made. But he did. He was genuine in his love of this project of Lady Liberty. This was a project of love to him. And he came to America several times and studied Americans. And as you know, Laboulaye was an American scholar. So they were all about making it as their gift to America as this tribute of liberty. And the statue for Egypt was a purely commercial venture. And it was a statue of progress. So in his mind, he could see them as completely different. This is a statue of liberty, and this is a statue of progress. And that was a business venture, and this is a venture of love.
So there actually is something to this rumor. That's bizarre. I thought it was just...
You know, you can connect it through the artist. You can't say that the Statue of Liberty used to be a Muslim woman. That's taking it a little too far.
But the conspiracy side of it, there's actually a little germ of truth,
There's
a little kernel.
as there usually is in any conspiracy theory, right? That's what makes it believable.
Now, we're going to head to a break. Totally right. Isn't that it's unbelievable how as crazy as a story can be, you start to, peel it back a little bit and you go, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's another popular one that she used to be a black slave woman.
I've heard that,
Bartholdi
yes.
was forced to change it because the Southerners objected.
Right.
No historical truth in that at all.
Oh, there isn't. Now, see, that's the one I believed.
But there's the abolitionist link. So you can go in there and show that, yeah, they did create it as a result of the end of the Civil War. And she originally was holding the slave chains, the broken chains of slavery in her hand. They're now under feet, and they're called the chains of tyranny. She's breaking the chains of tyranny. But they were originally meant to be the chains of slavery.
Well, I was going to actually bring up the chains after the break, and I think we should take that a little bit further too as well. So we're gonna take a break right here, and when we come back, you've got Secret on the book cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that implies something, and I want to know what it is, and we'll do that right after the break. Our guests tonight, Robert Hieronimus and Laura Cortner. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And yes, we are discussing their book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store. So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482? No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guests tonight, Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus, and we're discussing their book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World. You know, you almost couldn't have this title of the book 50 years ago, if you think about it. You know, it's kind of interesting that we are aware today and conscious, right?
Right, especially when you get to the level of what kind of a being we're looking at there, because it is a woman, right?
Yes,
it's our mother.
Well, and Laura,
look at the face.
Totally. And Laura brought up one of the best points I've heard in a long time on this show, and I've heard some really good stuff. But when we go, our founding fathers and the politics of Washington and the artists and artisans that were designing and drawing and printing and sculpting coins, money, Lady Liberty was everywhere.
You got it.
But yet women were oppressed completely. And I can't imagine being a woman back in the day, seeing one thing but getting treated another, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's still going on today in certain parts of our country. Women aren't so treated well too much in certain areas of Texas. They have some real problems there.
Well, we love Texas. Slow down there, Robert. But check this out. Check this out. The other day, I do a fact every day on the show, a Fader fact. And the other day, I almost did this one. In 120 countries right now in the world, 120 members of the United Nations, it is not illegal, domestic abuse. It is not illegal.
Man, are you kidding?
And it's just like, slow down a minute here. You know, that's a pretty shocking thing to find out, and for me. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Things have not changed much.
Yeah. But the thing about that chain
on the feet,
I'd love to talk.
Yeah, let's
because you can't see the chain anymore. It's under her foot, and it symbolizes, that chain symbolizes both slavery and the chains that bind us to the material world. In other words, we are chained down in the physical. There's another part of us. There's a spiritual aspect of us, which gives us our real freedom. And the chains are beneath his feet to show that this liberty crushes tyranny. And the chains, as you noted, were formerly held in the lady's hand and were replaced by the Book of Law. And that Book of Law is July 4th, 1776. And you also mentioned, God, you know so much, because you already talked about our money. Mm-hmm. and the divine feminine, or the Statue of Liberty, or the goddess is on all of these pieces of money. And of course, it's a guy by the name of Benjamin Franklin who started using all of these different symbols. He taught history by creating money with various interlinking chains. as well as being their chains is a symbol of union, that we had to unite. Because if we don't unite, we're going to obviously fall apart. So when you take a look at the Statue of Liberty chains, which stand for the bondage of religious and political oppression, and that's extremely important because we have problems in certain areas of our country of moving towards the opposition to separation of church and state. And that is really the key to this country. It's our separation of church and state that gives us our religious and spiritual freedom. And it's going to be challenged. And if we keep moving to the far, far right, we are going to lose that most precious thing. And so that Lady Liberty means that Americans are free to choose mentally and spiritually. Now, that is one heck of a thing to say in a symbol. But then again, as I said, there are 7 different levels of important symbols, and any one of those gives a different level of meaning. So the revolutionary generation designed a government of freedom of choice, and they were against the monoculture of the earlier Puritans. Wow, when you study the Puritans, you want to talk about violence.
Yeah, pretty gnarly. I always thought that the broken chains, and it's interesting how we all interpret things differently. And I guess I'm looking at it a bit too simply here, but I had always thought it was because we broke from the chains of England. You know, that's what I had always thought.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good, because yes, they're symbols like this are multi-leveled. And so, of course, there are many good ways of interpreting it. There's not just one way, because when you start getting into one-way interpreting, you really get into serious problems. Now, there were certain individuals who looked at the Statue of Liberty's torch, and you know what they said the torch was?
What's that?
Are you ready for this one? A penis.
Yeah, I've heard that a zillion times. Yeah.
That's amazing. What a thing to call it. And so that's what I mean about their multiple levels. Some are genuine and others are phony, but there are many different levels of interpreting things. And that's the great thing about this nation, because we have multi-religions. We're not a monoculture. There are parts of our country that want to move us into a monoculture, to return to Puritanism. I've seen that, but you know how many children the Puritans killed? We're talking about children.
They didn't stop at children. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Robert and Laura, and either of you can answer. What about when I think of and I see something like the Statue of Liberty? I think of big things, wonderful things. And then it seems like all of those iconic big things that we have here were all Freemason influenced. Is there anything here that was influenced by the Freemasons? And is there any hidden symbolism there that is intrinsic to us that we don't necessarily see, but we're affected by it?
Well, yes and no, I suppose, would be the answer to those questions. But
okay, yes to the Freemasons part.
There's that statement that you've heard, I'm sure, a million times, that she was a gift from the Freemasons of France to the Freemasons of the United States. And that just doesn't hold water. First of all, La Boule was not a Freemason, and Bartholdi only became a Freemason in 1875, which was 10 years into the project, and only after they launched the fundraising part of the campaign. So it makes a lot of sense that he would join the Freemasons at that time, because they were the most well-connected, both in the United States, where they had to do fundraising as well as in France. They were the merchant class. They were the ones that they were going to raise money. So, of course, he wanted to join them to help that cause. So and the Freemasons were very much enamored by this project. They saw in the design of Lady Liberty, a lot of their same beliefs and teachings are about the individual right to liberty. And it's in the way that it represents the founding of this nation, which is, of course, also intrinsically tied into the Freemasons. That's where they were supporting it. They don't have goddesses. They don't have representations of any deity in Freemasonry. So to say that it's a symbol of the Freemasons is inaccurate. And to say that it was influenced by the Freemasons, there's no historical documentation that backs that up. So people who say that have not actually studied the history of the making of the statue.
What about the pedestal?
The pedestal. Well, of course, the pedestal was an American project. And again, there were Freemasons involved in that. And there's a Freemasonic cornerstone laying ceremony, as there are, as you note, with all the big things, because back in the day, it was a much more popular club. Yeah, and so anybody influential almost everybody who was influential was a Freemason.
Freemasons were builders.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole different level that's totally non-esoteric. It has more or less along the lines of the importance of geometry, structure, and meaning. So Freemasonry has its exoteric side and an esoteric side. I happen to be a member of Freemasonry, which most people would not be members of, because I didn't want to join any secret society that did not have women in it, because women are the best ritual workers I've ever worked with. So I am what's called a co-mason. And in our rituals, men and women work together in balance, just like in ancient Egypt, which is what co-masonry is basically about. So I understand that a lot of people would like to stick the Freemasons with a lot of things. I'll give you an example. It took, I'm going to have to say this if it's all right with you guys. Long time ago, in 1966, I saw this pyramid and an eye in a triangle. And I fell in love with the symbol, and I wanted to know what it meant. So I contacted the State Department, and they sent me images of the front side of the Great Seal. And I said, hey, wait a second, this is just one side of it. What is this pyramid in the eye in a triangle? It's something so mysterious, so strange. What does it mean? You know, I never got a straight answer on that until much later. Now, I had a friend that I bumped into, and I think most people know about this friend, Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy, I was going to do record album covers. And so I was sent up to New York to talk to various people about doing their album covers. The Doors, Hendrix, many, many other small groups that people will never heard of. One of them that I loved a great deal by the name. You ever heard of a group called Earth Opera?
No. And I know it all. Okay, you caught me. And Laura, he did it. He pulled it off.
I told you.
He pulled it off. Okay, let's keep that between us. Let's go back.
Earth Opera, the American Eagle tragedy.
The American Eagle tragedy.
You would love it, Jimmy. It's your kind of music.
God. Well, anyway, so we're sitting. I was spending time with Jimmy, and we were at some nightclub in New York City, and he looked at my drawing book, and he said, What are you doing with that pyramid in the eye and the triangle? I had books on it. And he said, what does that mean? Now, I never taught him anything about it. He already knew about it because in California, there was a place called the Source Restaurant. And the symbol of the Source Restaurant was a pyramid and an eye and a triangle. That's where he first saw it. And of course, it was stuck on the dollar bill. And he said, look, Bob, there's a part of America we do not understand. This must be the spiritual aspect of our nation. And he wanted to find out about it. Later on, I worked with his family, Janie Hendrix. Later on, he did drawings of the pyramid and the eye and the triangle. And fortunately, when I exhibited my work, they allowed his work to be exhibited next to mine, because that was most important. Yes, he was interested in reincarnation and Atlantis and UFOs and everything like that. He would have just loved this show. I mean, he would have made sure that everybody he worked with would have listened to this show, because especially UFOs, you have done one whale of a job on that. I know we're not supposed to talk about that right now, but, you know, the fact that you know about the work of Long John Silver.
Long John Silver. Long John Silver, pretty good fish. You know, I go there as often as I can.
Right.
So, Long John Neville.
If we were talking about UFOs, I'd want to ask you about the Billy Meier case and George Adamski and all the other stuff that most people, you know, you're knowledgeable about this stuff. And that's really the key. And, you know, you must love learning from that standpoint.
And that's what this show is all about, Robert. There's no doubt about that. And I've offended a lot of people with my thoughts on this because, again, just like anything, emotions can run deep, and a lot of people invest a lot of time into not only research, but if you look at this show, right, we have a large audience, and they are here every single night, and they know that we're going to be here every night, but they commit 3 hours out of their day every night. And then, and if I'm over hosting Coast, it'll be 3 hours a night for 4 nights. And then for 2 nights over on Coast over the weekend, they're investing their time with me, and emotions run deep. And sometimes, you know, when I speak my mind on these things, people get affected by it. And you're absolutely right. But they do come here for the knowledge, and they know that I'm going to be honest. That
good. You're having them challenge their assumptions.
Well, they challenge me.
That's good.
I think that's what goes on here. But okay, so back to the reason why I bring up the Freemasons is that I look at I'm glad that you are associated with the Freemasons, Robert, because you can answer objectively and from a background. But when we look at anything big with symbolism here, like the Statue of Liberty, we know it came from the French, but the base, and also before that thing ever got here, the Freemasons had to be involved. And that's it. So there must be something there for this audience. They're going to go, wait a minute, man, Freemasons? Okay, they did the base, they laid the cornerstone, they brought this thing in. There's probably something here there. There's a 12-pointed star in the base, and you know, there's ways to look at it. So the mystery behind the Freemasons for us is something that is that you can touch, that is real. But you're saying that there's nothing there.
Well, there is the torch. That is the only thing that could be linked in Freemasonry, because Freemasonry was about the Enlightenment and the importance of the ancient Greeks and the various secret societies that are related to that. But then again, what we're looking at is foundational Freemasonry, not esoteric. It is, your builders are all Freemasons. And I mean, they don't necessarily belong to a secret society, but they are Freemasons. They are creators. And so it's obviously anyone that is a builder can be referred to as a Freemason, but not necessarily a member of those secret societies. The most important thing I love about Freemasonry is you're not allowed to do 2 things. One, you're not allowed to ever talk about politics within the lodge. It's really forbidden. Or religion. You're not allowed to talk about religion within the ritualist system, because there isn't anything about it. But that torch is a symbol of enlightenment, can be, again, remember I said symbols are at least 7 different levels and all that kind of thing. That Freemasonry has embraced the Enlightenment. Means that they don't necessarily officially use the torch, but they interpret the torch as enlightenment, because that's what changed our country in laying the foundation. And our country dealt with the enlightenment that comes within. And that's what you learn about in Freemasonry. You learn about that there, and it's very simple, that there, each and every human being has the spark of the divine in his body.
Well, you also get, Robert, I have to jump in, and I need you to answer this. Laura is probably going to jump in first, though. I feel it coming. Which is, it's feminine. She's a goddess. There is, for everybody that has a religious background, connection, or upbringing, is going to get their own religious and goddess, God type of vibe from her. Right. And so how do we look at it in those terms? And how do we keep religion removed from what we're dealing with here when anybody that is religious is going to look at her and see Mary, any one of the Marys, right? They're gonna have some connection to a religious vision that comes from it. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't think we can remove religion from the Statue of Liberty, intentional or not.
I think you really can't. She's more not religion, she's spirit.
Laura, are you going to agree with Robert on this one?
Well, first of all, I want to back up one bit and just remind everybody that the Statue of Liberty was not a Freemasonic project. Now, it just seems that anything that's lightly touched by a Freemason's hands is going to be up for a lot of speculation, and perhaps they did something here and perhaps they did something there, but it's more accurate to say that she was a gift from the millionaires of France to the millionaires of America. It was a very commercial enterprise, and the Freemasons who may have been involved, particularly in the pedestal, as you point out, if any individual may have hid something or seen some evidence. I haven't seen any evidence of that. So if anybody's got evidence for something like that, I'd like to see it. But there's nothing in the historical documentation that this is not a Freemasonic project.
Right. And okay. But what I'm saying is everybody loves a good conspiracy.
Right?
Yeah.
You just do.
Yeah.
And
Right.
as soon as the Freemasons are brought up, and all you have to do is lay a brick. Right, that's all you got to do.
That's right.
And then, aha! I knew it was the Freemasons all along.
Right.
Right?
You just have to do your homework and realize that you just can't make that connection. You can make a lot of sound-alikes, and it looks like, and maybe compared to, but...
That's not as fun. It's not as fun.
You're right.
Let me see your sources. But yeah, it's okay. She's a goddess, but she's also a metaphor. And when we were talking about the revolutionary generation littering their landscapes with goddesses, it wasn't even in awareness that it was a divine feminine. To them, it was an allegorical female, because in art history throughout the years, these Latin words are feminine. So you've got virtues always depicted as female. So that's the reason why men and women were able to accept this idea of liberty as a female, where they never really questioned the fact that women weren't given the liberty until much later, or they were doing that in their own home. So what was the question? We were talking about.
Well, we were talking about, Robert said it's not religious. And I said, well, hold on a minute. I think anybody, that has a religious background could look and, extrapolate a religious connection with Lady Liberty in so many different ways.
But I think that's spiritual.
Okay.
That's a lot different than religion from the standpoint of a series of laws.
Right.
Because that's what religion is all about, a series of laws. And it's not about the goddess and God within you. I feel just very strongly that prayer is communication with the deity. Meditation is listening to the deity. And prayer and meditation, when you come to the most important thing, which is spiritual, is service to others. And that is the balance between the masculine and the feminine and the key. Now, there's another symbol which is always mistaken as being Freemasonic, and I thought it absolutely was. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started researching the Great Seal of the United States. That pyramid in the eye and the triangle, I looked at that and said, damn, if that's not a Masonic symbol, I'm going to study the history of that. And so I contacted the State Department, and I started telling them, hey, why don't you guys talk about this? Why don't you talk about who created the Great Seal of the United States? Somebody is member of some secret society, and they had to have been a Freemason. And guess what? This is so embarrassing. I actually thought I found the connection by a guy by the name of William Barton. And I wrote a booklet that was used by the President of the United States in his speeches. And in that booklet, I said William Barton was a Freemason. I didn't know that the William Barton I was talking about was from New Jersey, and he was a Freemason, but he wasn't the William Barton who designed the seal. Boy, was I embarrassed.
Oops.
Yes, a big mistake. This is what I mean about doing this research. So even though you can have an eye in a triangle, and that's used by Freemasonry, doesn't mean there was not one single person that designed the Great Seal and the finished Great Seal that actually was a Freemason. All of Benjamin Franklin, all of his ideas, and he's a Freemason, were rejected. And the same thing with all the members that were involved with it. And I really fell for it, all because I saw the similarities and I leaped to conclusion. And that's what you got to be careful about real scholarship. It may look like it, but that doesn't mean it is it in it. And that's one of the same reasons why Jimmy kept saying, Bob, there's something about this that's our spiritual side. And he said, I'm going to find out what it is. Well, it took me 30-some years from that date to find out what it was. And my doctoral thesis took me 5 years to get to the bottom. And it really humiliated me. I didn't want to accept this, because I really thought I had my hands on it. You know how that is I would have put up my Rolls Royce and said, look, that's for sure. You can have my Rolls Royce. And I would have been wrong.
You've got a Rolls Royce. Hey, how has the perception changed for the Statue of Liberty? Because we have our kids today that none of them know it came from France, right? They barely know that it's there. But how has the image changed and the attitude?
Well, today we all think of her as the mother of exiles and the welcomer of the immigrants, because, as you were saying earlier, that emotion was so strong. And that is how her popularity, in one way, spread across the United States, because these immigrants were coming in and seeing her. But that's not at all what she was originally intended to be. Not just was she the French thing we were talking about before, but there was no concept of her being a mother or a welcomer at all. And Emma Lazarus, who wrote that poem, The New Colossus, she wrote that as part of the fundraising campaign for the pedestal. And it was received well at the time, but then completely forgotten about. She died the next year after the statue went up. She didn't, she had an early life. And one of her friends rediscovered that poem many years later, I think it was 10, 20 years later, in a used bookstore, and said, oh, look, here's Emma's poem. We should do something about that. So she got a couple of her wealthy friends together, and they put it up as a plaque and had a little ceremony. And ever since then, it's been affixed in our consciousness. By this time, the immigrants had been redirected so that they are now passing past the statue and bringing that image with them. But for the first 20 years, it almost fell into decay. So it went up in 1886, and there was great hoopla, and we recognized her as our American girl. But almost immediately, the art style became outdated, and they couldn't get that lighthouse part to work. They were shipping in fresh water to the island every day to try to run it by steam engine turbines, and they could just never get more than a glow out of it. And they tried floodlight. Well, they eventually have now. They floodlight it, and that's what Bartholdi wanted all along. But
which the army struck that down. I always found that interesting. We got to take a break right here, Laura and Robert. We'll be right back. We're discussing their book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, and you can follow them at Lady Liberty Book. I'll be right back.
Listen to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com, mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guests tonight, Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus, discussing their book, The Secret Life of Lady Liberty, Goddess in the New World. And, okay, now, Robert, check this out. I'm going to swing this over, Laura. Did you like that guitar right there?
Oh, I loved it.
Did you like the guitar in the commercial that was playing before that?
You played a lot of good music here. That I'd love to hear this kind of music because it reminds me of the old days.
It's me.
It's you.
You like that?
Then you need a guitar pick.
All right. We're not going to torture Laura with that anymore. No, the guitar that you just heard is Doug Aldrich. The guitar in the commercial before that, that's me. It really is. It really is. It's a whole past life, but...
wow. I wish you... Again, we can't talk about it. Too bad.
You do need a guitar pick.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure you get a guitar pick.
Smoke and mirrors. I very rarely talk about that stuff, but, Robert, you're a music guy, so I thought I'd go there. Now, we've got to talk about the face.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we have to. Now, I'm going to set this up with this. She doesn't look, if there is a definition for that, she doesn't really look American. She doesn't look French, I don't think. And I think, if anything, she almost looks Greek or almost Roman. Now, I know I'm way off base here, but who is she? Was there a woman that modeled for this, that posed for this? Who is the face?
People like to say that it's Bartholdi's mother, Charlotte Bartholdi. And there's a small story to that effect where one of the fundraisers in France went to the opera. It was right after the face had been modeled. It was being done in pieces in a foundry in Paris. And he and Bartholdi went to the opera afterwards. And as they walk into the box, there's Charlotte, the mother, and they get introduced. And this other fellow who was a senator in France, he gasped and thought that he saw the face of the Statue of Liberty. And he turned to Bartholdi and he said, "I see the Statue of Liberty here. And who is this?" And he said, "Well, it's my mother." So this story, this senator goes around in all the fundraising dinners and so forth. He starts telling the story that the Statue of Liberty is based on the sculptor's mother. And Bartholdi would just sort of smile and nod his head. But the fact remains that he never said this himself. It's not in any of his writings. He and his mother were very, very close. He was almost what you might call a mama's boy. She sponsored his art career throughout his history from a very young age. And there's no record of that in their correspondence. They wrote to each other almost every day. And there was no sitting. So it's most likely this story got started as a marketing ploy, or it was allowed to continue as a marketing ploy because it makes people identify with the project and with the artist on a human level. What we find is that the face is deliberately androgynous. It almost looks more like a man, and there's some people who say it looks a little bit like Laboulaye himself. If you look at Bartholdi's sculpture that he made, a bust of Laboulaye, and you compare that to the images of the Statue of Liberty when it's just the face. If you ever see it without the hair and the crown, it's rather jarring because it does not look at all recognizable. And it's deliberately done. In his sculpting career, he went to Egypt as a young man, and he was struck in awe by this colossal statuary there, the Colossus of Memnon in particular. Mm-hmm. And he writes about that in a very moving way, about how they have this vacant stare that goes off into the distance, and it symbolizes eternity. And that's what he was trying to capture with this statue, and I think he did it right well, because it has to be something that can be seen from a distance and recognized, so not too highly detailed, or it just wouldn't be visible. And it has to give that impression of strength and eternity and timelessness all at the same time. So it's a very classic Roman, as you say, mm-hmm. pose, and that's what it was intended to be. It's not really any particular person. And Bob likes to talk about the balance and the fact that from a Jungian perspective, Carl Jung, we should all be striving to be consciously androgynous, and he did the 49-51 percentage thing that, chemically we all start as females in the womb, I think, before that little switch turns on and you become a man. So,
well, I'm so glad you asked this question about the face, because on your show, you've had Dr. Robert Schock, right?
Many times.
And you've had people talking about Göbekli
Tepe, yes. You just made everybody take a drink, Robert. Congratulations. Hey, if you squint and look at her face straight on, kind of looks like Sean Penn in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's got a little Spicoli in there, but that's another discussion. But that whole androgynous side is a pretty interesting thing. And also, and we'll get back to your comments, Robert, okay. But stern, almost pissed off. There's no smiling going on. There's nothing happy, and there's nothing sexual, right? Even though she's female.
Deliberately so.
Right. And I always wondered about that. A little frightening. I mean, for little kids, it's because there's not pleasure. Not pleasure. Pleasure is the wrong word. Happiness.
Right. It's not that welcoming mother. It's a fierce. It's like the Black Madonnas have that gaze too.
Right.
It's fierce. It's that ineffable female wisdom that we really can't describe in words. It's a powerful force, and I think that's the strength that's coming through.
Okay, Robert. Sorry, we both rudely cut you off. Okay.
Well, I'm getting used to that now.
Okay.
At the age of 73, I'm
73.
Yeah, 73.
You sound like you're 29.
Yes, I am 29, but they really grow. One of the reasons why I mentioned ancient history is because, and I'm glad we can talk about this on your show, because your listeners probably know and read some of the work of Dr. Rudolf Steiner.
Oh, yes.
And H.P. Blavatsky.
No doubt.
Now, according to them, if you go back tens of millions of years, human beings were neither male or female. We were both hermaphrodites. Hermes, Aphrodite, male, female, together. And it was at a certain time in history that the separation of the sexes occurred. And at that time, the male became the active aspect, external, and the female became the internal, the intuitive. And it took tens of millions of years to evolve through that. So I'm extremely happy today in our country because artists have a lot of strange friends. We do. I mean, there's never been a time when I was not around people that were either homosexual or asexual or heterosexual, whatever. But it didn't matter, mainly because we were all involved in creating things. So now in our country, we finally have the kind of freedom by which you can have multi-levels of different types of sexes that can work together. And I think that this is an important element in the future of our evolution, if we can continue to evolve, because I think we got some big problems ahead of us that we're going to lose a great many people on this planet. And a lot of it has to do with the kind of what the Native Americans teach. Their feeling is our planet is Mother Earth. It's our mom. We have mistreated mom for a long, long period of time. We're killing all of its animals. We're killing each other. And we're not living up to taking care of our mom or looking out for our mom. And the Native Americans believe that there will come a time when mom is going to kick us around. They're not necessarily talking about global warming. They're not necessarily talking about big earth changes that are headed our way. If some comet or a meteorite or something hits our planet and extinguishes us, they're saying that Mother Earth has a consciousness. And in order for it to repair itself, it's going to eliminate many of us living beings, even animals, from that standpoint. So, it's not good news. It happens cyclically. I think that some theories say about every 10,000 years, something heads our way, because out there in outer space, things come through periodically. And that's what they believe that we're headed towards. So when you put that together with the fact that I don't know who's going to be able to afford good drinking water, and I mentioned this a lot earlier, it is serious from the standpoint that lots of people are going to starve of malnutrition and through huge amounts of water now being melted. When you come up against a 600-foot wave rolling in at 700 to 1,000 miles an hour, nothing is going to stand up. And I believe that's in part some of the things that we have in the future. And the sad part is it's been ignored. And people are not going to be ready for it. I think the flooding that you've seen in Houston and down Louisiana, along the Mississippi, etc., that is going to be normal. Florida, I don't think we're going to have too much of Florida left in less than 50, 60 years. And we're not going to be able to keep replacing the sand on beaches forever. It's going to cost massive fortunes. So we've got some real tough things ahead, and unfortunately, we're not ready for it. Exxon has done a wonderful job of making sure with the Koch brothers that they have eliminated this thought in theory. There are some people, especially I'm heard in Florida, in which you're not supposed to ever talk about global warming or any great changes. But this is more than global warming. You know, it's like Noah's Ark is coming again. You know, remember those stories a long time ago? We used to laugh, at least I used to laugh, about people would talk about, well, when Noah was building his ark, none of the people around him believed that he knew what he was doing. We're symbolically in the same situation.
Certainly are. Certainly are. Well, I have often said, and there's a reason why we call her Mother Earth. Okay, let's not forget about that. And it's not just us or you and I, right? It goes back millennia. And there will be a point, and I really firmly believe this, and it will happen quickly. Once that little balance, that little thing, it could be a pebble of sand that tips it, but when it does, she's going to burp. She's going to vomit, right? And it's going to happen. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to really look at what we have done here. And there's a lot of things that it's not any one little, you know, it's not one example of anything. It's not carbon. It's not pollution. It's not overpopulation. It's not deforestation. It's not any of those ozone layers and melting Arctic. It's not, all of those things are small, but they all are going to add up. And at one point, you know, we lose the monarch butterfly, we lose bees. You know, it's going to be something crazy. It's going to be small, and it's going to be enough, and something is going to happen.
And that's why we like to focus on the Statue of Liberty as a goddess, because with this coming environmental upheaval, if humanity is to survive, we need to change this domination pattern that we're in, where we separate everyone into an us and a them. And the goddess wisdom that comes from so long ago, it's a pattern of inclusion and wholeness and partnership, where everybody sees themselves connected to the earth as their mother, and we are all one. We're all related in some intrinsic way that we don't really know about yet, but it comes back to, you know, we're all born from a mother, and that is our first archetype. We come out of the womb and we go back into the womb of the earth at the end of life. So right now, with the last 5,000 years of the patriarchal domination paradigm, and we talk about the environment in this book about the Statue of Liberty because of the Indian queen, and that's a symbol that was used in the early days of the European discovery. When they first found this other part of the world, they had to come up with a new allegory. They had a female allegory for Europe and a female for Africa and a female for Asia, and they were all dressed differently so that you could tell them apart. And then they discovered this fourth part of the world. They had to create a fourth allegory. So it was this savage-looking, mostly naked, fierce, again, Indian, what they thought would maybe be an Indian, because she looks more European, actually, but she's wearing a tobacco leaf skirt and feathers in her hair, so that means she's an Indian. And she's usually carrying a club or holding a severed head, because they were trying to say that there were cannibals here so they could sell them as slaves. So in any case, what we see here is this woman image as America, and they write about the land as a virgin soil, and it's welcoming you with open arms and waiting to be ravished. So what is happening here is the European paradigm of domination is coming down on America, on the New World, so-called. And there's this one picture we have in the book that's on our website, secretlifeofladyliberty.com, where you've got Vespucci standing there fully clothed with his scientific astrolabe, and he's coming across America, who's this naked woman sleeping in a hammock, and she's startled by him. So you see the science and the male and the domination is coming to subdue and subjugate poor America.
And nature.
And nature. So, right. So there's the whole idea of both woman and nature are to be subdued and dominated. And we've got this in the fundamentalist, the extremist fundamentalist Christians today. They're the last to come around to this idea that we are responsible for each other and for the earth and for changing our patterns. America is largely responsible for the condition of our weather today, in the fact that the temperature is rising, because it takes about 50 years, this thing called thermal inertia, for the output of your carbon monoxide to turn into heat. So what we're experiencing now in the raising temperatures was actually created 50 years ago. And of course, the United States was leading the planet with our ideas of materialism and carbon emissions. And we have this responsibility to change. And in America, and the Statue of Liberty has changed. America is a country of change. So it's up to us to change and come up with a new energy paradigm if we're going to make any inroads into a human future.
Well, I know that there's going to be some court proceedings in the years to come, especially in regards to Exxon and how they had funded, along with Koch, the Koch brothers, are anti-climate change. And it's tragic. It really is, because these guys, with their billions of dollars, could have really made things work so much better. But their interest was in the short term. That's the problem with corporations. You've got to keep making money. If you don't, you're going to be thrown out of your positions. And, we watch this. If you read the New York Times every day, you see what's going on over and over again.
Why do you, before, I don't want to wrap the show. So I'm telling you guys right now, I'm going to hijack you, okay? You're kidnapped. And we're going to head to a break in 5 minutes. But I want to keep you guys on after, because I want to jump into some ET stuff. Okay.
Really?
Okay. So that's, look, Robert's all excited and Laura just like, oh man, here we go. but I kind of want to wrap on this segment with this. It seems that at some point, and certainly when you go back to ancient Egypt, which I love talking about in this show, and we go back to that part of ancient history and lost history, 5,000 BC, 6,000 BC, 7,000 BC, and up to like Anunnaki, like that period of history, we didn't have wars. And we go to some of these ancient megalithic sites around we don't find weapons, we don't find things, we don't find destructive implemented things. They're not there. At some point, we started this mess and we've never stopped. Why? What changed in our consciousness? What made us to create war and make it a thing that we looked forward to, and we did it? It's mind blowing that it actually happened.
Okay.
Right now. Are we going into a break, or are we talking
No. Right now, we have 5 minutes.
I can think of a couple of theories about that. Of course, you've got the invasion of the sky god cultures that came down and changed the paradigm. But then, do you know the work of Leonard Schlein, The Alphabet versus the Goddess?
Absolutely.
I like that theory. I think there's some holes in it, of course. But the whole idea of the invention of the alphabet, rewiring people to be more left brain oriented instead of right brain oriented. So therefore, they were more open to changing the paradigm from partnership cultures, which we talk about. The Rianne Eisler's work was very formative in our book, in our thesis here. And as you say in the earlier, the goddess worshiping cultures tended to be partnership oriented. They were not about dominating, which is what the paradigm has been now for the past 5,000 years.
Yeah, I think that's basically what has happened, is this imbalance of partnerships being diminished between males and females and not working together, because we need both different, and symbolically from the standpoint of what the male contributes and what the female contributes. When you put them together, they become whole. And that's one of the great things about the humanistic and transpersonal psychology. When you look at civilizations that do not have symbols that hold their nation together, they become decadent. And especially when they become more masculine, then war seems to be inevitable.
Right.
The female slows that process down, and especially in regards to the Native Americans, the League of the Iroquois showed that it was the women that were in charge of basically who was voted in as the head and who got voted out. They owned everything, except no one owned the land, but they owned all of the physical things, the tents and everything, and the only thing the men owned was their horses and their spears and their bows and things like that. And that matriarchal society of balance has been missing. And we are just in a terrible situation right now in which domination has become the key of success. We're going to go to war forever with the way things are going. And because it's big business, it is, as my wife says, we have a death economy, a war economy. We make so much money. You know, one of the things I loved about Bob Dylan was his songs. And when he sang Masters of War, I cried, because that's what has been going on for at least 5,000 years, probably more, of course. And thank heaven, I'm just happy that he won the Nobel Literary Prize. And when you study the kind of things that he said, he almost, to me, I live my life through his words and his songs. I learn from him all the time. That's the great things about musicians. That's when you noted that you were a musician, and there's magic. You know, Jimi Hendrix believed in magic. He believed music was magic. He was ready to try to work on new ways to create sound. His people that were behind him, that were in charge of him, so to speak, they didn't want that. They didn't want him to change. They wanted him to go to do the same thing over and over again. Why? Because it made mega bucks. And when he started to change, a lot of people said, my gosh, I don't know if I like this music, or I don't know if I'm going to buy it. So that was crippling to him, because he knew that he was not going to continue to grow unless he changed. Now, you know that when you do that to a musician or anyone who's creative, they don't live very long after that.
Well, he was an alien. It didn't matter. He was gonna go back to Zeta Reticuli or wherever he came from. He just did a drive-by here and blessed us. I just looked up Earth Opera. I didn't know. Peter Rowan, really?
Oh,
David Grisman? David frickin' Grisman? Bill Mundy was in that band from Mothers of Invention.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I did a poster for Frank Zappa, the Mothers of Invention.
Well, we got to take a break right there, and I'll just say this. He just dropped the bomb. I think that we should all do a write-in vote this year for Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa.
Okay.
And all things would be fixed in this country. So this is Fade to Black, our guests tonight, Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus. And when we come back, I'm going to do it. I've got to. We're going to talk a little ET. Laura, hang in there. It'll be okay. We'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guests tonight, Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus. And, you know, I made a little crack there before the break about E.T. and ufologies to Laura. Laura used to write for UFO and Fate magazine, and I've got nothing on her. So, Laura, I just wanted to put that out there publicly.
I'm just trying to see a UFO flying by the Statue of Liberty, how I could connect it back.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, we probably could, actually.
Probably has happened.
Yeah, that is not that far of a reach. But what I did want to bring up, before the show tonight, we were talking, and Robert brought up Billy Meier.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm going to start here, Robert. I'm going to ask you why.
Why?
Yeah, why? Out of everything that you could have brought up.
I was introduced to Billy Meier's work by 2 individuals. Christopher Bird, who wrote The Secret Life of Plants. He was the best man at my wedding. And Peter Tompkins, who wrote Secrets of the Great Pyramid and stuff like that.
No doubt.
And so Chris said to me, look, I've got some books here of this guy, Billy Meier, and I think that this is the real thing. Now, these guys, these are the same guys that were OSS and CIA. I guess you're aware of that.
Yes.
And they were my teachers. They were my mentors. They they shared with me what the CIA was saying about global changes back in the 70s, that it was understood that there were going to be great changes, and they were considering whether or not they should tell the truth, that is, whether or not it was going to get colder, which we could do nothing about, or it was going to get hotter. And so they taught me that it was chosen that the government would talk about it getting hotter, but not colder. And now you've probably seen the movies 2012 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we are that cold is so much more difficult to adjust to, and you can do very little about it. The heat you can to a certain extent, except it's getting so hot, as some of our mentors have taught us, getting so hot that the ground is heating up, and the corn is not going to be able to grow. We're not going to be able to have the kind of farms that we have now. And that kind of feeds into this theory that the reason why we aren't going to have GMOs and things of that nature is because it will be very, very difficult for us to grow food.
Billy Meier, Bob?
Billy Meier.
Yeah, Laura, you are so good.
Meier. Well, anyway.
She's my co-host.
They said...
She's good. She's good.
Bob, there is something to this. And he said, these look exactly like they thought any craft would look like. Now, so I was obviously I was skeptical, and I had on the air on 21st Century Radio. I had on the air anti-Billy Meier folks, and they did a poor job. They did such a poor job of slamming Billy Meier that that there were supposedly wires and links and that kind of thing, and they brought up the idea that they found some drawings of UFOs in the trash that were kind of that were actually like models of these craft. And it's true that Billy did try to create models of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been fascinated with this Billy Meier because I do believe that this guy was legitimate. And yet, if you, back in the old days of MUFON, they would not tolerate him. Most UFO researchers would not tolerate him. And I just wanted to get your opinion.
Well,
you've had,
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you the long and short of it. And like I said at the beginning in the disclaimer, we're going to start as friends and end as friends, no matter what we talk about. So just hear me out with this. In 1984, I have a friend of the show that is a friend to this day. His name's Dale Romero. Took me 1984 now. Okay, this is a while ago. Takes me down to his brother's house. I'm going to tell the front part of the story as quickly as I can. Takes me down to his brother's house. We have a cookout. I go into the house to get something that his brother asked me to get from his office, whatever it was. And I'm in his office, and I walk in. And on this coffee table is the famous the big Billy Meier color book, right? It's there, and I had never seen. I'm looking at the cover, and I'm like, "Holy crap, he's into UFOs, right?" Not Billy Meier, my friend's brother Dale, right? And I look, and he's got all this UFO stuff, and I pick up this Billy Meier book, and I'm flipping through it. I'm like, "Holy crap. This is the most amazing stuff I've ever seen." And it changed my life. It did. All right. And then, so with that aspect of it, I give Billy some credit into just opening up into something that I had already been researching. Right. And it was this thing. I was like, oh, my God. Here it is. This is what we need. This is what we need this. And here it is. Now, that being said, and I'll give Billy the credit where credit is due there. But you're an artist, Robert. You have eyes. I have eyes. I went to art school. I have an art background. And a couple of years later, not too sure how long it was, but I get a video of Billy and this documentary and this the UFO, the flying saucer flying around the tree. Right? I'm watching this, and I went, "Wait a minute, that's BS." Right? And I'm looking at this, and I'm depending on my eyes, and I know what it's like to hang something from a string and spin it and twirl it, and a yo-yo, a necklace, anything hanging from a string we've all done since we were 2 years old, twirled it around in the air. And that's exactly what that flying saucer was doing. The thing wasn't flying. It wasn't doing anything. It wasn't a flying saucer. I was seeing something on a string. And I'm going to say this. It broke my heart. I was deflated. And I went and I started to look at Billy with a different set of eyes. And I went back and I was looking at the photographs, and this is way before all the evidence came out and all of that is out there in droves. But I started to look, and then I saw the picture of the pterodactyl.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. I'm a smart guy, and I'm looking at this, and that is not a photograph of anything anywhere. It's not a picture of anything real, but yet he's trying to convince me that that's a picture that he took. And it was just wrong, and I felt violated, and I got angry on the whole Billy Meier thing. Then I jumped into the other side of it and just started to look at it. And I since then, I've dismissed it all. I've just dismissed it. And it breaks my heart because I want you to remember and go back to that first book, right? And how it changed me. It did. It changed me. I was like, now when I look at those pictures, all of it, I know that it's a big lie. And it's just one big thing that probably for him got out of control, and then he couldn't control it. When I found out, and I'll let you respond to this. When I found out that, and I had Michael Horn on this show, right? And Michael and I went back and forth. When I found out that there are absolutely no negatives anywhere to any of his pictures, anywhere, I have to ask the question, why? And Michael's response to me, what do negatives matter? And you can't answer me like that. Negatives are everything. You can't just say, what does that matter? It's the story. It's what he's about. That's what matters. No. When you are bringing this forward, I want to see, and so does everybody else, bring us the negatives. That's all, bro. Bring us the negatives and let us check those out. Well, they don't exist. None of them. That was one of the red flags for me. And the other one was this. That video of the flying saucer flying around the tree, right? The famous one with the tree swinging in the background, and it's being affected by the gravity of the propulsion system of the flying, the Billy Meier story. That video is not original. That video is a projection from a projector film onto a wall that was videotaped by a Japanese film crew. And that's the video that we see of this flying saucer flying around the tree. We're not looking at the original film, and it doesn't exist, and it's not there for us to investigate. Let's look at that film. Let's go frame by frame. Check it out. What was filmed before? What was filmed after? Was it edited or not? Is it real? Let's look at the film. But that video that has been put out there as evidence is a video distorted because the Japanese film crew is shooting from the side, and it's a videotape. It's third, fourth, fifth generation crap. And so now that I know that, then that video that is already wrong to my eyes is really, really wrong. And if you can't bring that film forward, those reels, and let us check that out scientifically and otherwise, let's look at a really good digital transfer so we can see it, because it's blurry and it's distorted and it's old. And so when I look at that, forget about all the other evidence. I'm just talking about, Robert, my eyeballs. That's all that I'm talking about. My eyeballs say that is not real. And that's what I depend on here. That's my evidence. I don't care what everybody else has brought forward, like you're talking about strings and this and the negatives and, put all of that in the background. I just depend on my eyes, and I don't like to be deceived. And that's where I come from. That's my take on Billy Meier.
Well, that's the reason why I asked you, because I had problems with the dinosaur. It wasn't just the pterodactyl. They were awfully crude looking, what he referred to, believe it was something like a Tyrannosaurus or something like that. And one was a kind of a Brontosaurus, and it looked so crude to me. So the reason why, this is the reason why I have such high regard for you. I was asking you to help me out in this situation, which I find a great conflict in, because my dear friends, Chris Bird and Peter Tompkins, who I had extremely high regard for.
Oh, well, we all do. There's no question about that.
They didn't comment on those other things, such as the pterodactyl or that to me threw enormous amounts of doubt, and it hurt. It really did. I can easily understand how you felt.
Well, that what was interesting for me was somebody had shown me, this is years ago, that famous pterodactyl picture, right? And so they show me, and I thought it was a worm or something in the pterodactyl's mouth. That's what but it was out of focus. But I see where he took the picture from, and it was a photograph from a children's book about dinosaurs. And so I'm looking at the original, and I'm looking at this, and it wasn't a worm. You know what was in the pterodactyl's mouth? A squirrel. Right? Now imagine the squirrel's tail and, the shape of a, and you look at the Billy Meier one, the one that I thought was a worm, because it was out of focus and stuff. But I'm looking at the original, and it was just like, man, this is just a whole bowl full of wrong. That's the only way that I looked at it, that, the whole Dean Martin thing with the girls and, photographed off the TV. Yeah, okay. I can see all of that, and that's probably how that happened. I get that. But it's that video with the flying saucer flying around the tree, because it's not. Well, it's just not. It's not. Nobody can ever convince me of that. I mean, it is what it is.
Then you see, also my point in this is that just because something looks like it is, you have got to take your time. When people look at, say, for instance, I see this pyramid behind a triangle, and I know that's satanic, and I say that the Illuminati and all this stuff you've got to do the research yourself. Now, this didn't we start this way, talking about this in the beginning of the year?
Yeah, but that's exactly right. Right.
You can't depend on other people, even though they always may have been right or whatever. And that's what usually is forgotten in most of the conspiracies against the founding fathers and stuff like that I've seen before. Once you get go to the actual documents and see them and read them without other pressure from what you want to do. That's the reason why, again, our book took so long to write. We kept finding other conflicts, and we had to work them out. And that's why I'm so proud of our bibliography. I know how most people couldn't give a damn.
Right. Well, Laura, Laura, I'm going to cut Robert off. Okay. You wrote for Fate, you wrote for UFO. And how does the Billy Meier case sit with you today?
Well, after listening to you, I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm not here to change minds. Don't listen to me. Oh, that's a mistake.
I've been so steeped in the Statue of Liberty for the past 6 years, it's hard to say. Yeah. We're almost out of time, right?
We've got 8 minutes.
Okay. I just would like to mention the Whore of Babylon. I know it has nothing to do with
Please do. Okay, go ahead.
It's the term that's bandied about so often when you hear the conspiracies about the Statue of Liberty. So I would just like to say on the record, the Statue of Liberty is not the Whore of Babylon. She was not designed as a secret joke by the Illuminati, as a joke on the rest of us because, to trick us into worshiping a false idol or something. And her torch is not a phallic symbol, suggesting that we all worship the loose morals of the Illuminati or something.
Right.
In fact, that's part of the secret part of the title that you were talking about before. We were looking for connections and interpretations. They're not in the traditional history about the Statue of Liberty. And obviously we're open to these theories about conspiracies. And we looked at them all and we weighed them against the facts that can be documented historically. And what we found is that there's no way that she symbolizes the evil Illuminati. She symbolizes a divinity in female form, which is a symbol of strength. And she's become famous for being nurturing and welcoming, a mother goddess archetype, in other words. And that's how we can compare her to Mary Magdalene, in fact, and the Cathars and the Gnostics. And we bring all that in. So we definitely recognize there's a lot of theories that are actually true. And I think in the UFO field, it's rife with conspiracy. And I'm so glad that people on your show are conspiracy hunters. But tracking down the symbols of light and, the illumination ones and showing that that's all the Illuminati, it's just a waste of time when it comes to the Statue of Liberty. They should be spending their time looking into some of these other things you're talking about, the conspiracies to conceal the knowledge about the Monsanto or something. And
Right. Well, it's so easy, and you're so right about this, Laura. Now, I'll give you an example. When the Statue of Liberty, and you put a picture of it in front of you, and you want to do a conspiracy video on it and put it on YouTube, you could sit there, pick it apart, make up your own stuff, put together a list, put it on YouTube, boom, you've got yourself a new conspiracy. Mm-hmm. It's easy enough to do. And I could take a paper plate, photograph it, throw it up on YouTube, and I could make that an Illuminati conspiracy, and get 1 million hits. Mm-hmm. And that's what people do. And when you have something as strong as a symbol as the Statue of Liberty, where emotions are tied in and they go deep, and you want to go and create something and tie it to the Illuminati.
It's like a kick in the gut. That's why they use her so often in these disaster films. She's been decapitated and flooded over and frozen, in all these latest movies.
Well, I always thought that
symbolizes us.
Right. I always thought a few things were off limits, right, in the disaster films. And one of them, man, was the Statue of Liberty. You don't go there.
They do now.
Right. But they do. The White House, man, this is the first thing they blow up these days.
That's right.
I thought certain things were sacred. And every time I see the Statue of Liberty tumble in these disaster films,
it hurts, right?
It does.
It's because we identify with her as our mother, as our nation. She is us.
Well, every time it happens, this is what I think. It's really weird. I'm going, nah, she's going to stand up. It's going to be okay. All right.
She withstood Hurricane Sandy. The whole visitor center and all the walkways are all torn to pieces, but she's not at all damaged because she's built to withstand that she's strong and she's flexible.
Well, like I said, I was, that tsunami is just going to blow past her, and my fingers are crossed, but it doesn't happen.
I know.
Yeah, and so what's up? Did
she ever fight against the Michelin Man?
Hey, that's a good one.
Well, there's the Stay Puft Marshmallow in the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Well, they get the Statue of Liberty to fight off the Ghostbusters.
That's right.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
I think that's where the cross comes in.
You stole my idea. They did. So what's up next for you guys? What's the next book? What's the next project?
Oh, the Woodstock bus is coming up.
Yeah.
50th anniversary in a couple of years. Tell them about it, Bob.
Well, I painted a bus. I was going to go to Woodstock, and so I contacted my friends that were in rock and roll. And I said, how many people are you think are going to be there, you guys? And they said 50,000 people. And I said, forget it. I had already bought my ticket. And I said, there's no way I'd be able to spend any time with the people I want to see. And they said, you're damn right, because we're going to be flown in on helicopters and you're not going to be able to get in here. So you're not going to be able to get in. So I'm not going. And I'm glad I didn't from a certain standpoint, because then I had this commission to do at Johns Hopkins University, the Apocalypse mural, which we just restored in 2015. And we're going to send you a booklet that interprets it. It talks about literally in 1968, the story is about the 1% taking over our country and the corporations that were involved in doing it. Now, this was in 1968. And if you can imagine a mural like this at the Johns Hopkins University, which is a pretty conservative institution, but it's amazing how they have embraced the symbolism, because right now you see the 1% versus the 99%. And the 1%.
Are we talking about, and I'm going off my memory here, but are we talking about the VW?
Yes, the VW bus.
The one with the frigging Sphinx on the side?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Stop. Pump the brakes.
Okay, it was owned by a couple of friends. It was painted on commission, and it went up without him.
So it went up without him, and of course, the Rolling Stone and Life magazine.
You are a god among men, Robert.
Now, listen to this. The interesting thing is now, what's going to happen, and no one else knows about this. This is the first time we've ever talked about it to anyone on the air. What's going to happen is that we're trying to locate any remnant of it. We probably won't be able to, because it was held together by some paint.
Falling apart.
It was falling apart. Rust-Oleum was the paint that I painted it with. It was holding it together. So they want to, two documentaries are being worked on right now. One in LA and one from Canada. And they're going to tell the story of the Woodstock bus as it's related, how it was born, and they are going to recreate it.
I thought, this is what I thought, because I've known about you for a long time. I always thought that you did the prankster bus.
Oh, no.
In my mind, right? In my mind, the Partridge Family, the school bus, right? And when you were just sitting here talking now, we're talking about symbolism in Egypt, and you told me about the Baltimore Meier poster and the Egyptian symbolism, it hit me between the eyes.
Oh.
Dude, you did the Volkswagen Woodstock bus that had the Sphinx on it.
Yeah, and now they want to recreate it, put a Tesla engine in it, and then drive it around the country and collect Woodstock memories, and then donate it to a big museum. Auction it off.
You forgot the most important part.
What did I
No,
forget?
I humbly apologize right now. I humbly apologize. That bus, my dad always had Volkswagen buses growing up. You've heard this story a million times from a million people, but my dad did. And I was just into them, and that bus was part of my childhood. And you oh man, Bob, you are the man.
Well, I didn't know it was important. I didn't know, Rolling Stone, I don't know how many times they had it in there, but I never paid attention because I was too busy doing other murals. You got to make money to live, right? And so I took on projects that would take years to do, and I forgot about it. And I didn't know that it was popular at all until the last 5 or 6 years when China contacted me. China, what a thing to happen. They said, "Are you the Hieronimus that painted this bus?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We finally found you." I said, "Well, I've been here all along, And they said, "We want to do a model of this bus, a die-cast model." And sitting in front of me right now is a 14-inch die-cast model of the Woodstock bus. Go up to our website. You'll be able to see it.
Woodstockbus.com.
Yes, and you see the Sphinx. You see all the six-pointed stars. You see the Sanskrit. You see the whole story about what they really want to talk about in the future in these two documentaries, which I'm looking forward to because I've always wanted to talk about symbols and especially this bus, because what has been learned, this sounds self-serving, and I'm embarrassed to say
No,
it. No,
you do whatever you want right now. As a matter of fact, I got to announce to the network, we just blew past the ending of the show 2 minutes ago. No, that's what a Volkswagen bus with a little Rust-Oleum will do to this show, just to let you know. All right, so I'm here at woodstockbus.com. There it is. Dude.
There it is. And you know what happened? Listen to this. This is the strangest thing. Then later on, a couple of years ago, I got a call from Brazil.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah. They called from Brazil, and Brazil said, went through the same routine. Are you this guy that da-da-da-da-da? And they said, yeah, okay, we're coming up. We're coming up, Bob. We are going to give you an award. The Combi bus is going, the last ones have been created, and there are 5 people in the world that we, Volkswagen, want to celebrate with because you made the difference in this bus. And they came up, we shot it. They sent it over to Cannes Film Festival. It won 7 awards. 7 awards, 2 gold, 5 bronze. And it's about 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. You can watch it on our website. It just really was strange.
And Volkswagen gave Bob a custom-made art kit that was in the shape of the VW van with all these beautiful pastels inside.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It had a little plaque on it. It was just such a lovely honor.
So I'm not really known too well here in Baltimore, but in Brazil, I'm a big man. And what a country to be a big man in right now, I'll tell you.
Is that you on the cover of Rolling Stone? Sitting on top of the bus? Don't tell me that's you.
No.
Okay,
no.
All right.
I didn't go. I didn't remember.
Oh,
okay. I did not go, but my friends did. One of them ended up being one of the Four Seasons. He owned the bus. I painted the bus for him.
Wow.
And we're going to recreate it. And the last thing they're going to do is take it to Europe, because in Europe, Woodstock is much bigger than it is here in this country. The Woodstock has been looked at from Europe from the perspective of America has finally grown up. I heard it every time I was in London or some other place. Someone said, about Woodstock. If you went to Woodstock and you went to London and you needed to eat or something, people would buy you anything.
How long did it take you? Now that we've gone this far into overtime, when I said hijack, I wasn't kidding. But how long did it take you to paint the bus? Do you remember?
Sure. It took about 7-8 months.
7 or 8 months. And did you know what you were doing, or was this totally free form?
Sure. It was all planned out.
You should see his journals. He still has his journals.
Right.
Yeah, my journals basically explain every symbol on it, and that's what is linked into these 2 films. Because they allow me to really interpret it, and it comes out. And there are books that have come out. And again, this is a little bit embarrassing because I'm talking about myself here. But what they have said, that I did this bus that told the story of Woodstock in 1968 before Woodstock happened, because of the story that it tells, that we are one people on one planet, and that we must work together. And I know it sounds corny, I know, but the truth is that's what I'm really all about. The only reason why I painted cars is I was so poor that I didn't have. I had visions, and I really wanted to let other people know what I saw, but I didn't have any money, so I took my little Volkswagen cars and told stories and painted them that told the story. So they were like billboards driving around. And,
I see a couple of VW Bugs here. So you're saying you did these too?
Yes.
Wow, these are cool, man.
Yeah, one of them was called Pegasus.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
And they had UFOs on them.
Yes.
And,
I'm looking at it.
There's a UFO in the front of the bus.
Yes, I'm looking at it right here.
Isn't that something?
And then I like the Christ in You, Ra.
Yes, yes. And on the top of the bus says, pray, P-R-A-Y. And on the other bumpers, talk to him. and other things. Again,
she is coming.
She is coming. You like that?
The balance. Notice that the she has a silver S for the feminine.
Right.
The gold he in it. So it's multi-leveled. There's multi-levels of symbolism on there. And when you get to the roof, it talks, of course, about the link between Britain and America. And, of course...
what's on the middle of the back bumper? I see the "We Live" on the left side of the back bumper. What's in the middle?
As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in my studio right now on one of the buses in front of me, so I can tell you accurately.
If you can reach it.
Oh.
He's reaching.
Okay.
Okay, we don't need this on the radio, you guys.
Okay. Oh, let's see.
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Wow, this is... my mind is blown. I was thinking the pranksters.
Okay. Love.
Oh, that's what's in the middle. Okay.
What? And then, hey, do you see that in the middle? No, the middle is, I believe that's Ra.
Hieroglyphs.
The hieroglyphs.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Sure. Oh, we live to serve. That's what it means. We live to serve. See, I'm a Virgo, and Virgos are kind of stuffy. They are perfectionists, and that's my biggest.
What year was this bus?
1964.
64.
The make of the car.
Yes.
You painted it when? In 68?
Oh, I painted in 68.
No, but it's a 64 panel.
It's a 64. Oh, right.
Yeah, split window, the whole shot, man. Wow.
So we're searching for a good body of a Volkswagen, and we're
a 63 Combi.
As a matter of fact, in the middle of November, we're going to begin the process of trying to locate a 63 Combi. But now, people from upstate New York have a group of artists up there, and what they want to do, and I'm giving them permission to paint the Woodstock bus on water towers, barns, canoes, whatever. This is what they want to do. It's really strange, but we may end up doing a whole...
Did you have any idea that we would be talking about this in 2016 like we are?
Oh, you kidding? No. No. You know how artists are. You're an artist yourself.
Right.
You only focus on what you just completed. And you only live in that for a while. You don't sit around and admire yourself. To me, it was the story that I fortunately did, but I didn't know anyone was paying attention to it. And no one even knew. Rolling Stone never said who did it. As many times as New York Times, it's been in the New York Times maybe a dozen times. And they've never listed who did.
Because it's an iconic picture. It captures Woodstock with those dirty teenagers sitting on top of this symbolic bus.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're going to not see through it.
Right.
But it's
all
loaded with...
his murals, his cars. He writes little booklets on them because each, as he says, he's a Virgo, and each little inch, every square inch is covered with an important, well-thought-out symbol, and they're all interconnected and interrelated. And it's done as a teaching tool.
Yeah, it tells story. I'll send you a booklet on it that interprets the whole thing. I'd send you a copy of one of these buses, but they're so rare.
No, I'm gonna. Where can I get one?
Well, we sell them.
Oh, I will buy one now.
Well, they're $300. I don't know if you can afford it.
You go.
Rare collectible items.
Yeah, they're rare.
Oh man, this is just absolutely amazing.
Well, isn't it wonderful that we have a lot of connections. We really do.
Wow.
And someday we'll talk about George Adamski because I want to get to because I always thought he was. I liked his.
Well, Adamski's one thing. Okay, we can put him to the side. The guy that blows my mind, that freaks me out to this day, is George Van Tassel.
Oh, yes.
Now that guy was the real deal.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah,
How in the world did you bump into him? Most people don't have any idea who
I study, man. I study. I take this very, 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 very serious. And George Van Tassel, I've listened to all of his recordings, all of them. I've spent 1,000 hours listening to his stuff.
It was Chris Bird that introduced me to his work.
Well, his nephew has been on this show. His nephew actually came into the studio, and we did a conference with, his name's Chad C. Meek. We just did a conference with him in Sacramento. But anyway, George Van Tassel is a whole nother thing for me. There's too much there, and there's something going on. So,
have you ever heard of Thomas Galen Hieronimus?
No.
Hieronymus machine?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, that's my uncle.
Really?
Yep, Uncle Tom. I thought I would have he would have loved this show. No, really. I mean, you're so fortunate. You are so fortunate to be doing what you're doing, and you're the fact is that you've got such a broad background, and you read. Now that's not the normal thing for there are a lot of talk shows out there in the paranormal and such, but most it's embarrassing to say, but most of them don't read, and it's frustrating.
Well, one of the when I came from my background, which was art and music, that's it. That's how I made my living. But I had this secret, man, and I didn't talk to people about it. And it was UFOs and conspiracies and Egypt, and I didn't have friends that I could talk to about it. But I was studying and I was collecting and books and videos and things, but I just didn't talk to people about it. And what most people don't realize today, if you're going to be a show host, if you're going to go out and write a book, if you're going to comment about this kind of stuff, really, you need to have a foundation. Sure you need to, when somebody comes up to me and asks me about Adamski or George Van Tassel or the Rhodes photographs from Phoenix in 1947, you better be able to respond, because there are people out there that research and are into ufology that know everything, and they know more than you. So you need to be ready. And so I luckily have had this 40-year run of research. My wife, Rita will tell you, when we first met, which was almost 20 years ago, I had a vault full of UFO videos that I didn't show her. We had eventually, over a year or two, we started to talk about the subject, but I kept it really, really guarded, but I didn't just fall out of the sky. I know, I know the subject, and it comes out of passion.
Well, it's evident, but the good that you're doing, though, holding up the quality of these shows. There's a lot of crappy shows out there.
No, yeah, there probably is. I don't know.
Probably there are.
I don't know. I have some friends out there that are doing really good stuff, and I know that there are a couple of really good programs out there.
There are them for sure. I know that.
There are, and it's with the internet and with the ability to anybody to go and start something, whether it's a band and you want to get your record out, or you want to be a director and you want to do a video and you want to make a movie or a radio or podcast or whatever, you can go and do that now. And so if you are good, right, it doesn't matter. If you're good, if your band is good, you've got a way to get it out there. Now, you don't have to depend on a record company. People will come and find you if you are good. And it's the same thing with comedy videos and movies and TV series. You can go and shoot it, go get a camera. Cost you a couple of $100 now to get a camera and some video editing software. You and your buddies go out and film your comedy series, right? And you can go and throw it on YouTube. And if it's good, it'll catch. And it's the same thing with podcast or radio. If you have a voice and you want to get it out there and get it heard, there's a way to do it now. And the good ones rise to the top, and you're off and running. But that also means there's probably 10,000 of them that aren't very good.
That's true.
But
do we have your address so I can send you?
Rita will hook you up with everything right after the show. She's probably sending you guys email right now. And with that, I've got to go shoot for History Channel first thing in the morning. So I need to wrap now so I can get home and get my slappy butt into bed. And I was taping all day today with History, and I've got to go and do it all day again tomorrow. But until then, I want you guys to be safe. Thank you so much. I had a wonderful time with you.
We had a better time than you did.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It really was.
Thanks for the hijack.
No, it's like I've known you forever. Really.
And we'll do it.
Sounds like.
Right. Totally. And we'll do it. We'll do it again very, very soon.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, Robert. Absolutely an enjoyable time tonight. I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
And be safe out there. Be safe.
Right.
This is Fade to Black. I want to thank right now Laura Cortner and Robert Hieronimus. What a conversation tonight. And I'll say it like I do at the end of most shows. You guys are so spoiled, completely and utterly spoiled. You are welcome. Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. Thank you, Race, for letting us run over tonight. Didn't mean to do that, but sometimes things just happen. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Go Bagley Tappy.